Well, hey, welcome to the show before the show. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, your local game guy, and today I'm joined by co-host Will. Hey, Will.
Go.
How are you all doing in the audience? We are running a lot of streams recently, and I've noticed more and more issues with OBS. Get that sorted. This one nearly didn't happen. That's not true at all. We're going to hold the stream regardless, but hopefully you guys enjoyed last week's stream with Ernesto. Hope to have him on more often. It was very fun talking through Mom and the Aftermath, that whole tier list. I did not expect the conversation to be 4 hours. We're not going to repeat that today. No worries. Unless you enjoy that. I mean, I enjoyed myself. I don't know about you, Will, but it is fun.
It was very fun.
Yeah, it's weird because, you know, I usually look at these cards and think about them myself, and I'll trade ideas or concepts with the Discord every now and then, but it's nice having different perspectives weigh in on a topic, and that's sort of the beauty of today's topic as well. If you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel, well, congratulations. You are getting spoon-fed the best TCG content on the internet. But also, you get community posts every now and then from myself. And in our last community post, I want to discuss with you all in this podcast our favorite combos, play lines, and win cons that we feel are underutilized or underplayed and should see more play. I know when it comes to meta strategies, we're all expecting the same things. And if you've watched any of my live stream brewing sessions, practically speaking, I'm doing all the same things that you should be doing if you're playing a cEDH list. You should slam the Underworld Breach. You should slam the Thassa's Oracle if it's a blue list. You should play the Demonic Consultation. You get where I'm going with this. The general setup for a cEDH deck is fairly obvious, but there are cards that work within the space, and it's interesting because we got a comment in the community post that shared a sentiment with me. The game has had so many years to produce cards, and there's such a rich saturation of effects that there are plenty of things that get slipped through the cracks that are still competitively viable. And that's what we're going to talk about today, Will and myself. So we have a handful of cards we want to discuss, our favorite play lines and consequently win cons. But also I wanted to go over our community post and discuss some of the play lines and combos discussed there, as well as with you all in the live. And that's sort of the beauty of a live stream. So we can have a conversation with one another. But hi again, everyone tuning in. Will, how's your weekend so far?
Pretty good. I've been throwing together a paper deck, Megara, as you may know.
What?
So I'm throwing that together in paper just because I already have all the extra combats from building the Heb way back when.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be playing that against friends probably after this stream. So looking forward to it. cEDH Megara.
Oh, I'm excited for that. Let me know the success. This is the one from Infinity?
Yep, the one that reanimates instants and sorceries as 3/3 creatures, and when they deal combat damage, they cast a copy of themselves.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny. I want to make another list in paper. I was just telling Will off camera a moment ago, and I'm I'm conflicted with the fact that I've sold a lot of my reserve list cards, so I want to make sure whatever I play is still legal. I'm not going to buy dual lands again, but I fortunately own all the fetch lands. So there's that hurdle to get over, like the efficiency with the mana base. But I think if I stick to mono or 2 colors or maybe 3, I should be fine. But part of this thought experiment today had me thinking about self-mill strategies again and how much I love them and how underutilized they are. And I kind of want to go for something that incorporates red, self-mill, and anger, right? So I've been having a think on it. Anger by itself is not great. You obviously want to put it in the art as soon as possible, but with any sort of self-mill line of play, you can do a lot. So, and again, we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, I don't know what I would want to make in paper. That new Nissa really had me interested, just because she's good. Like, just from a value standpoint, she's good. But I don't know how efficient or effective she'll actually be. Only getting to utilize that search ability once per turn at most. Can you do it off turn? Like, I can use like Haro off turn, right?
Yeah, it's if this is the second time this is triggered, then do the thing.
Right. So you could technically use an effect like Haro that puts 2 basic lands into play at
You can
instant
also
speed.
just crack 2 fetches on your opponent's turn.
Right. So there is a way to build the hand off turn, right? Whenever land add, then if it's the second time this ability is resolved this turn. Yeah, cool. So it doesn't need to be on your turn. Maybe there is hope. Maybe I'm not. So Mana Crypt for okay. Mox Diamond Mana Crypt. You hold the fetch land, or no? There's no there's no good play. I'm trying to make it work turn one. I want the search turn one. Tell me how do you do it?
Isn't this a double green or single green?
She's single green.
Is she single green?
I
Okay.
know. She's single and she's green, buddy.
I mean, you could just do Crypt, Chrome Mox, and then fetch.
Right, same turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Or
You
or
don't. You really don't need to do that though. You can just play land, Dork Pass, and then next turn,
mhm.
like a piece of fast mana or something, and then fetch land. You don't need to
Right.
rush it.
Right, burgeoning's kind of cool for it as well. Like if they play a land, you just play your fetch land. I love it. There's something here. I just, it's probably amounting to an Ashaya win because it's either elementals or elves. But I want to research the database of my mind and look over some cards to see if there isn't a better Nissa win. But we're going to be doing Nissa this coming Wednesday. If you want to sit in on it, Will, you can. But it's something that I promised myself I would do because I want to see if it's any good.
I can toss a couple card suggestions your way, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to watch the stream.
Oh no, that's okay. And
Wednesday
this,
is my cEDH and I have my LGS, so
oh nice. Okay, well there you go. You're gonna have to play Magara. All right. On that note, I think it's officially time to start. Well, hey everyone! Thank you for joining the stream. I'm Patrick Marlette, your local game guy. Today I'm joined by co-host Will. He's up here. He's up here somewhere.
So-
And today we're going to be talking about our favorite combos, play lines, and win cons that are underutilized. And in a lot of instances, these cards and effects sort of play into one strategy for a deck, right? But we're not going to be discussing Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, despite how cool that is. But we will be discussing a variety of combos and playlines suggested by the audience in our recent community post, as well as some of our favorites. So I have two, but they play very similarly together. So I suppose I'll start by discussing. I'll switch you guys to the main camera here. My favorite setup. So Mesmeric Orb. The issue with this and why it's really I would say it's underutilized for the most part within a cEDH setting is the simple fact that Mesmeric Orb as a card is very effective stacks, but it does fuel graveyards, right? So more oftentimes than not, it's going to be a detriment if you don't win within the next few turns, right? If you're utilizing Mesmeric Orb as solely a stacks piece, it really is just beneficial to your opponents, particularly if, they have the Underworld Breach in hand, right? If we're going to look at common strategies, they have the Underworld Breach in hand, and all they need to do is bin the next combo card for themselves, right? So for me, in my Rakdos deck, it would be Grinding Station. And that's as simple as Vampiric Tutor while this triggers on the stack. And then, there it is in my grave, and here's Underworld Breach, and do I have the means to protect it? So Mesmeric Orb can be very damning in a lot of situations, but I love it as a strategy for self-mill, and there's a handful of cards that work with it, but the 1-2 punch is Basalt Monolith. And just before I leave this tab, whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card, right? So generically, pretty good. Again, before Underworld Breach, it was a pretty sound strategy. You were really only helping the Tassiger list or any sort of delve cards that your opponents might have had. The meta's changed quite a lot since Theros and Underworld Breach were released. But and I remember this was in my Teshar list for a long time. And I believe I had to take it out because of the fact I was combating so many people with Underworld Breach. But Basalt Monolith's the 1-2 punch because you've never seen this card. It's 3 mana, produces 3, and you can pay 3 to untap it. So it's really quirky. I think it's been around since the dawn of Magic, or very nearly. Yeah, okay. It's been around since Alpha. So it's what were they thinking when they made this? What a weird card. But it's very beneficial with this card because in tandem with it, you could just mill your whole deck. So this is a combo I feel is underutilized, and arguably because of Underworld Breach, Mesmeric Orb is not highly valued when you're fueling opponents' graveyards. It's very, very damning. But what I like about this setup is that it's easy to get to, pending the list. It's very easy to get to, and it puts everything in your graveyard, or up to enough in your graveyard, pending your strategy afterwards. But before I jump any further into this and discuss the play lines around these two cards, what are your thoughts on Mesmeric Orb Basalt Monolith?
I do like it in a lot of lists. The only reason why I don't usually run it myself is just because the best colors to look for them are usually the blue tutors, sometimes the black tutors, just because it's black.
Mm-hmm.
And the best utilization for the cards that I've seen has been like Savine's Reclamation or using a Dread Return to reanimate a creature and do something.
Mm-hmm.
The new thing that I've seen someone do is Turn the Earth with this. That's the flashback shuffle 3 cards from your grave into the library and then gain 3 life.
Mm.
You just set that up, draw a card or two, and then win the game off of that because you just set your perfect card to the top.
It's like Doomsday, essentially, is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah.
What's the card again? Turn the Earth?
Turn the Earth. So that card is pretty good because it's also up to 3 and it doesn't have to just be your graveyard. So you can hate enemy graveyards in response to reanimate. So even if your opponents if your opponents want to utilize their combo in response with a Mesmeric Orb filling up their graveyards, no they can't. Just no. And then you can put your Underworld Breach to the top of your deck, then draw with literally anything.
Yeah, that's so weird. I mean, that's pretty damn effective. I like Turn the Earth. It's funny because I've not manipulated this before. Obviously, the 2 life gain's amazing. The flashback's amazing. Any cards with flashback in your grave with a self-mill effect, right? So Savine's Reclamation was mentioned, but you also have cards like Past and Flame and a lot of other combo cards that could be utilized. Me personally, the thing I like to turn on its head when it comes to this particular line of play is Savine's Reclamation. Normally you think of Savine's as like an intuition pile card or something to be leveraged as recovery for said, blue farm list that's manipulating the Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond line of play, right? Even outside of intuition being the common setup. But for me, I mean, I like to pull out, and you might have seen me illustrate this in a short on the channel that's been doing fairly well. But Savine's Reclamation is a setup in my mono white list, but any list, honestly, that contains white, I'm going to leverage Savine's Reclamation. But basically, if it's in the hand, it's amazing. If it's in your grave, it's amazing. More amazing. And if you cast it, well, let's just read it off. So it's 2 generic and a white, sorcery speed. Return target permanent card with a mana value of 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If this spell was cast from your graveyard, you may copy this spell and choose new targets for the copy. So, like, obviously doing that off of Underworld Breach just means it's cheaper and just as effective, but you can also still use its that second clause. But it has flashback, so it does all of that itself. So the setup by itself is kind of costly, but what's important to note is if you use Mesmeric Orb Basalt Monolith to pull into Savine's Reclamation, you have 3 generic right there. You use 3 generic as part of your combo. So 3 generic is going to fuel this. So basically, it's a generic and a white after the fact. So provided you have that setup going, it's actually pretty cost effective to get to. So what I like in tandem with this is once you've milled your deck, you really have a plethora of options, and Dread Return would work in the same instance. But one of my favorite cards, and this is sort of my win con of choice, right? So like you can see where I'm saying this is all one tangent. I love Merwelder as like the combo creature of choice, because not only does it leverage the stuff that your opponents have been milling, provided Mesmeric Orb has been out there, it's not difficult to combo with a Merwelder. Now I know what you're saying. It's slow, Pat. How are you doing this? Well, if your deck incorporates red, add anger. If your deck is in mono white, all you need to do is have some sort of haste enabling thing. So it could be Lightning Greaves, it could be 1,000-Year Elixir, it could be anything that states a character with an activated ability can do the thing now. And pending you can, again, Anchor is probably the easiest setup. But you can bring those two things back with Savine's Reclamation. You can bring Merwelder back. If you're in a list with Anger, bring back some form of protection, a defense grid. You're going to be in generic, right? You're going to have generic anyways, so bring back a defense grid and make sure you can pop off. You just need to grab a thing that goes mana positive and a thing that untaps. Make infinite mana. Is there a payoff in your graveyard? You're probably running Walking Ballista. Grab the payoff. It's a setup that requires 2 cards that pays for an enabler in your graveyard that sets up ultimately a play line that you could just play sans, this whole rigmarole, of milling yourself. But it just functionally benefits the strategy doing so because all the cards will be there for Mer Welder. I quite like this setup. I use it with Halo Fountain for a win. That's the short I was referencing. You can win with this and Halo Fountain. Any mana positive rocks and Staff of Domination. If you've self-milled, all of your solutions are right there. Literally right there. But Mer Welder is a combo enabler that doesn't see a lot of play because it's very slow. And the other card I want to talk about that's also a self-mill strategy is also very slow, but is really good for enabling combos in much the same way Basalt Monolith Mesmeric Orb is. But Mer Welder is one that I feel should be used more often because it's not difficult to set up and is just, minimally, it's good grave hate. If you want to just exile an LED, you can, or exile any sort of value artifacts, you're just getting value on the back end. And its imprint can be used off turn, so you can wait for it. And it's a 1/4. So it survives the culling ritual effect. It survives any of your Clasms, right, up to the 3 damage ones. And it's really never going to be the worst threat. I like it a lot. So even stuck in hand, it doesn't feel bad.
Now, I do want to say one thing that you may like, Pat. Mere Welder with Shallow Grave. Reanimate the top creature and give it haste.
There you go. Yeah. Right. So just if you're actually using Shallow Grave, and I think there are a few...
Does Necromancy give haste if it flashes? I don't think so.
But Shallow Grave's a oldie and a goodie. So it's 1 generic and a black. It needs to be the top creature of your graveyard. But if you do it that way, right, you wouldn't even need Savine's Reclamation. You could still have it, like, in the deck. If this is an Orzhov list, sure, just have it in the deck. You should have it in the deck. But if this is in your hand, just stop once you've milled the Mer Welder, and then do Shallow Grave, bring it back, proceed, right? And then you'll win. Or you should hopefully win within that same,
And there's your haste enabler, and there's another kind of clean win in mono black if you want to try to do that. That's really good for the Imhotep KCI list. I might recommend that to my friend.
Right. Because Mesmeric Orb, Basalt Monolith, you can run that, and then Mer Welder, you can run that in any deck. Like it's a very easy card to run. Any of these combo cards are easy to run. But the other one I wanted to discuss that I seldom see played these days, but it's essentially doing the same thing as that 2-card setup, is Hermit Druid. And for much the same reason I think that people avoid Mer Welder, Hermit Druid is slow, but if you build your list a particular way, it does the same thing, all in one go. So could be bad, could be really bad. But this card used to be seen a lot more, and it's 1 generic and a green for 1/1 creature human druid. Pay a green, tap, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a basic land card. Well, if you didn't put any basic lands in your deck, difficult if you're playing mono green, easier if you incorporate any other color. You can just mill yourself. So put that card into your hand, and all other cards revealed this way into your graveyard. So you'll reveal nothing because you're failing to find a basic land, and then you've binned everything. So for a list like Jund, you would have the Dread Return. You already have a body here to sacrifice, right? And you can bring the thing back. So this setup, it's, in my opinion, just as fine. It's just not as quick. I do prefer Basalt Mesmeric. It is 2 cards, but depending on the list, it's not that difficult to get to. I think that this is fine, particularly if you have a commander that allows or enables haste. I think that makes sense, right? So I was considering something like Samut, but you can really run any haste enabling legend that is consequently in green, provided you want to run a self-mill strategy. And there are so many that work with this. And obviously, if your list incorporates blue, you can run these with other lines of play and still just have Thassa's Oracle. And it works. And it works. But Hermit Druid's one that I feel like has been slept on. And I like the Stronghold version specifically. But yeah, they're still pretty cheap too. I mean, $13 is a lot, so people still clearly value it. But yeah, that's another self-mill strategy or card in and of itself that doesn't see a lot of play, could certainly see more play, and is very effective at what it's doing. Removing basics from your land may seem bad, but provided you're using all the fetches and all the duels, you'll be good. All your rainbow lands, you should have the mana you need turn after turn.
Yep. And the new potential hotness with Hermit Druid is the Sliver Grave Mother, because you can just dump everything into the grave and then encore it all back. So
Is that one word? No, it's not. But okay, right. So if you haven't seen Sliver Grave Mother, there she is. But yeah, there's a legend for you that works with it. Obviously going to be a little bit slower, but all you need to do is pump out the... And in 5 color, it's very easy to have the land base set up for Hermit Druid. You do just need to be willing to cut all your basics, so you're going to be spending a lot on like random lands. Elsewise, the strategy is very sound. It's always been sound. It's just a little slow. But it's funny because I've been playing a lot of... I don't know. There's a burning inquiry in the thumbnail for this video, and I'll discuss why in a second, but yeah, I've been playing a lot of Blue Farm recently, and it's good, but it's not like you're able to push a win every single turn. It's I feel like the meta, or at least the way this particular Blue Farm list is tuned, it's meant to play through a grindier game, or a game that goes beyond turn 3. So I think you have time for these setups. Like I think we ultimately think too often that cEDH just means fast, and that's not entirely true.
yeah, I mean, if someone plays one stacks piece, the game usually goes a turn or two longer, and that
Right.
means that your Hermit Druid can just be played, wait for Summoning Sick, and then activate.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
even in
yeah,
the slow lines, it's good.
it's funny because like it's not. I wouldn't even consider it stacks, but you know, a majority of the games I played recently with Blue Farm, I dug for a Mystic Remora, and people will not. They will actively try not to feed it, and then ultimately, like 1, 2, 3 turns have passed, and then someone caves, right? And all I had to do is sit there and pay for this thing, which is kind of gross, but I will say it worked 100% of the time. So even if you're just playing a value piece like that, you're gonna slow down the game, and you can play Hermit Druid into a Mystic Remora cleanly. So have at it. But yeah, that's some of my favorite setups. I think self mill is a strategy that people have stepped away from, but there's a lot you can do with it, and I kind of want to make another paper deck that incorporates either one of these two combos. I have a Hermit Druid that's been sitting in my collection for years, and I've never made a deck specific for it, but I think I would really love to. But yeah, what do you have for us, Will?
So for my combos, there's kind of 2/3 I wanted to go through, because two of them are the same general idea, but the third one is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
So the two combos revolve primarily around Abdel, the character that I have my Discord thumbnail after. So for anyone who doesn't know, Abdel is 4 and a white for a 4/4, and actually I'm gonna pull him up because I want to make sure that I read this properly.
And these combos rely on Abdel as your commander, or just in the 99, both?
For how I used it, it was Commander, but you can use this in the 99 because this is just kind of another mono white win, or a win that you can set up in any kind of colored deck as long as you have Abdel in there. Yes, and I love that you chose the correct art for
Right.
the
Yeah,
stream. I just saw that on the side.
it's so
But
good.
the idea is Abdel is 4 and a white for 4/4. He's a backgrounder, so you can choose a background. And when he enters the battlefield, exile any number of non-land permanents you control until Abdel leaves the battlefield, and create a 1/1 white soldier token for each permanent exiled this way. Now, the two ways that you break this in mono white without using any of the reanimation stuff, because before anyone says anything, yes, this is another Leonin Relic Warder. Yes, this also allows you to flicker your rocks, so this makes you infinite mana instead of just infinite death triggers. Yes, it makes you infinite 1/1s. No, I'm not going to go over it because everybody knows that combo.
Mm.
um, so if you cast Felidar Guardian, which is 3 and a white ETB flicker permanent you control, You can put Felidar underneath Abdel and then cast any kind of flicker effect. And then you get a very weird setup. So Abdel returns Felidar without any trigger or anything. There is no return trigger for Abdel. It just comes back, and so does Felidar. Then you have an Abdel and a Felidar trigger. The Felidar trigger targets Abdel. You let Abdel resolve first, exiling Felidar, putting it underneath Abdel, and then Abdel gets flickered from the Felidar trigger, returning Felidar. Same position, same board state, and now you have infinite ETB triggers with Abdel and Felidar Guardian, making infinite soldiers and making infinite mana if you have any mana rock. Also, if you're running a Candlekeep Sage as your background for Abdel, that's infinite draw. That was the win con for my deck, or at least one of the win cons for my Candlekeep Sage Abdel deck. Secondly, this combo's functionally the same thing, but with a couple extra pieces. If you have Fiend Hunter effects or Oblivion Ring effects,
You're right.
which you can choose any of those if you want to go over it, they're just when this enters, exile something. When this leaves, return the thing. Um, you can have Fiend Hunter exile Abdel, then have Oblivion Ring exile Fiend Hunter. Fiend Hunter returns Abdel. Abdel exiles Oblivion Ring. Oblivion Ring returns Fiend Hunter. Fiend Hunter exiles Abdel. Repeat, 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 repeat. You flicker and rotate between your entire board infinite times, making infinite soldiers off Abdel, making infinite mana if you have any rocks, and also drawing infinite cards off of Candlekeep Sage.
Hmm.
So those were the two lines that I ran for Abdel, which the Felidar Flicker one is an interesting one that you'd probably want to play, even if you just have it Abdel in the 99, if you're
Right.
running Felidar, just because it's a really compact strategy. If you want to use flickers anyway, you probably already have like Ephemerate or something and Felidar. Putting Abdel is usually an okay idea in a couple different decks because he can do shenanigans. I don't think this is great for every deck, but if you have an excuse to run these cards, it's another combo to think about.
Right. How many permanent based exile until it leaves the battlefield effects do you have?
So in my Abdel deck, I had why can't I can't remember the 2 mana one, but it's 1 white, just exile a creature until this leaves and it's an enchantment. You have that, you have Leonin Relic Warder, you have Fiend Hunter, you have Oblivion Ring, you have not Sphere of Resistance, Detention Sphere, and you have the new white card from Kamigawa, the one with channel flicker something or slow flicker something. You have Glorious Protector, which is ETB exile any number of creatures you control and return them when this leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have another thing that does a similar effect, but I can't remember. But I think it's around 7 to 8 that you have that just say exile something until this leaves.
Right. And they're all pretty just effective cards on their own for stunting a board. So it's not horrible. Like
Yeah.
this is definitely like a build around strategy, but the play lines are there. Like, and especially with Felidar Guardian, like you were saying, it's very compact.
It's also really great because if you're doing Candlekeep Sage Abdel specifically, having Abdel as your commander with these cards lets you abuse a lot of things because if you
Uh,
play Oblivion Ring on someone's, I did this and I'm very happy I did this. Someone had Drannith Magistrate out on the board and locked out the game. I Fiend Huntered getting rid of Drannith Magistrate, then Abdel getting rid of Fiend Hunter, returning the Drannith Magistrate. And
hmm.
I was just like, yeah, no, I'm fine with that card being there. I just don't want it stopping me. But then I started flickering Abdel, which would return the Fiend Hunter. Abdel would exile the Fiend Hunter, then the Fiend Hunter ETB would resolve, and the card would be permanently exiled. So you can just permanently exile cards with all of these effects instead of temporarily exiling them because Abdel can do stupid things.
Right. With a flicker effect in hand, right?
Yep.
Right.
And if you're running the Sage deck, you're running like every reasonable flicker you can.
Right. It's predominantly blue white that has those types of effects, exile, return, whether, end of turn or immediately. You're obviously going to try to leverage the ones that return them immediately.
Yep. So
Yeah, of
that's
course.
a kind of combo line that I recommend to people. If you want to try a new Azorius deck that's fairly interesting, Candlekeep Sage Abdel is cool. That deck also runs a Displacer Kitten because holy crap, that card does work.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially here, this
Yep, because you're
Displacer
effectively
Kitten.
flickering your whole board instead and drawing two cards.
People do still. I mean, this is a pretty valued card, I would say.
Yep,
Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Right, so it does rely on a cast avoidance, but it's still
yep.
pretty darn effective.
I
Uh,
mean, I'm pretty sure that casting your mana crypt to flicker all of your mana rocks, make like 8/1/1 soldiers, and draw two cards is a pretty good value. And you probably drew something that you can use with that 8 mana you just generated to cast one of those things.
so
It's
yeah, I
basically Paradox Engine.
basically,
Yeah,
basically, Paradox Engine's still pretty great. Wish we could play it.
yeah.
But assistant to regional manager says, I found you can assemble Kiki and Zealous conscripts with Hoarding Broodlord and Burnt Offering. Saw in half. Thoughts? So yeah, happy to talk about that. So Kiki Jiki Zealous conscripts off of Hoarding Broodlord and a Burnt Offering. So you're in Rakdos. If you don't know the Kiki Jiki line Zealous conscripts, the one that's more important to note here is Zealous conscripts. I feel like we all understand what Kiki Jiki does. But Zealous Conscripts isn't used in as many lists, particularly because Kiki Jiki just has so many lines of play. But pending your colors, like if you're just in Rakdos, yeah, you could. So it's 5 total, but 4 generic and a red, 3/3. Hey, Zealous Conscripts enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent until end of turn. It doesn't care if you control or own the permanent. You can target your own stuff. So you'll target Kiki Jiki. The important aspect is untap that permanent and gains haste until the end of turn. Well, Kiki Jiki already has haste. But when you tap Kiki Jiki, you can create a copy of another creature. In most instances, you want it to be a creature that says untap target creature. Zealous does, right? So you can continue the line. Everything that you're producing has haste. This gets past the legendary rule because this creature is not legendary. Great. So Hoarding Broodlord in this situation, it's a very costly card, but not, as we've discussed before, like difficult to set up with an Entomb Reanimate strategy. Also, it does have Convoke, so it doesn't get stuck in the hand as much as some other black tutor creatures. But when it enters the battlefield, you can search a library for a card and exile it face down. You obviously know what the card is. For as long as the card remains exiled, you may play it. What's cool is that cards that you cast from exile have Convoke, so this plays well into strategies like Ob Nixilis or Prosper. But what's being suggested here is what would be Saw in half first, and that splits Hoarding Broodlord into 2 cards. And then you could find your Burnt Offering and another solution, like a Tipple's Trickery or a Deflecting Swat or something to make sure that this goes through. But you could, I guess you want a Burnt Offering Saw in half on the second end. So you'd split in half, grab 2 more cards. The 2 cards you're grabbing, you want to be Kiki Jiki Zealous Conscript, so you want to grab like a setup for them, like a Burnt Offering.
Have
Because
another way of doing this, which is kind of the smooth way. You do the whole saw in half thing, but instead of the peer into the abyss for the burnt offering, you have past in flames.
mm-hmm.
You saw in half, past in flames, cast saw in half again, getting another 2 tutors, burnt offering from the graveyard, getting another 8 mana, and then you've effectively netted. I believe that would net mana. Yeah, that would net 2 mana for the combo. Actually, maybe 3 because you're tapping the Brood Lords, and then that
Right.
means that you're going to have 11 mana to play the Kiki and the Zealous. So that's a pretty clean way of doing that, I think.
Right, and you're in the colors for Past and Flames, obviously, so not difficult to set up, I would say. That is a lot of cards you're running in your list. I think it's fine. I think, is there a better way to manipulate Hoarding Broodlord for the win here? Probably. But if you're trying to set up Kiki and Zealous Conscripts, it's pretty simple. One thing I could recommend is if you just Burnt Offering for, and this is along the same line of play, really, you're trying to go for infinite combat, or infinite combat damage, rather. You could do a Dual Caster Mage and Twin Flame. And you already have the creature in play to allow for that, right? So you can tap down Hoarding Broodlord to help cast the Twin Flame, and then go off and cast a Dual Caster Mage, pending mana. But you would be able to make duplicates of Dual Caster Mage and then another Hoarding Broodlord at the end of it. Obviously, it's enough that you have infinite Dual Caster Mages, but that's a really easy line of play that's also in the same colors, so you might want to consider that instead. I would say that Twin Flame is just better value, copying your own Dockside Extortionist. Obviously, if it's Heat Shimmer, you can copy anyone else's creature as well. And then Dual Caster Mage is just a really good... Speaking of effects that are underutilized, or playlines or combos that are underutilized, copy effects are so good, and no one runs them. Barely. I love copy effects. But Dual Caster Mage is just essentially that on a stick. He's fantastic. I love Dual Caster Mage.
Yep.
Or she.
Also, I do want to say there's one thing that you did wrong, Assistant Manager. Conniving Recruiter, not Zealous Conscript. Let's go.
Which one?
Sorry, Coercive Recruiter instead of Zealous Conscript. I love this card.
Oh, wait. I want to see it. Coercive Recruiter for 4 generic and a red. This is from Commander Legends. When Coercive Recruiter or another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. Until end of turn, it gains haste and becomes a pirate in addition to its other type. So...
The reason I love this is you get to steal all of your opponent's creatures while you're doing the Kiki line, making infinite things as well, because each Coercive Recruiter triggers each Coercive Recruiter, so you steal everything.
Very quickly. Yeah. It's kind of like, I mean, it's win more, let's be honest, but it's win more in the best possible way, because you could just like yell out a big arg as you're doing it.
Yeah. It's also just very good utility because Dockside's a pirate. You run other things that are incidentally pirates, and
Ragavan.
Ragavan. You just kind of steal things accidentally with this card. So it's like a reusable Zealous Conscript.
Hey, that's funny. Yeah, so assistant to the regional manager. I would say if you're going to go the Kiki route, probably use Coercive Recruiter instead. It's funny. I don't remember this card, but it's good. And it sounds like Jean is running that in Anya Falconwrath, the Hoarding Broodlord line. Yeah, there's a couple you can run, and I would say that's probably safer to run than World Gorger Dragon, so recommended. Yeah, Pubsum MTG says, yeah, we got Brad Pitt in reference to Abdel. Yes, yes we did. So let's go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Really quick, it's Peyton Manning. My friend constantly jokes that that Abdel art is Peyton Manning.
Is it? We can run a poll.
I know, yeah.
Hold up.
Brad Pitt or Peyton Manning, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I see...
I also think I have... Do I have this on me? Yeah, I do. Okay, so my friend, after calling it Abdel Peyton Manning, drew this for me, which is my 1/1 warrior token for Abdel, or soldier token for Abdel, and it's a quarterback. And my Abdel deck has lovingly been named Abdel Flea Flicker.
Wait, it does Abdel Flea Flicker Abdel look more like Brad Pitt? Peyton Manning. I assume this is how you spell his name. I don't really watch football. There you go.
People would probably hear it and then understand. So
Right. Broodlord over Razaketh, says Dasfa. Well, okay, Dasfa. So far as Hoarding Broodlord is concerned, over Razaketh, I want to say both are viable, but I also would like to say that I prefer Hoarding Broodlord for the most part. I think it can get shut down by Torpor Orb effects, sure, but not that many people are on Hushwing Griff, right? And the same could be said for your Razaketh. Like, it gets shut down by Linvala effects or Drana Linvala, which is even better. And neither of those are really used, so I would say Broodlord's probably the better of the effects. Because the play lines are very simple to set up. It really just means you incorporate Saw in Half in your deck. But Saw in Half is not a bad card, so...
Yeah, Broodlord can also be cheated out just by having a big enough board, and Broodlord doesn't require you to use HP as a resource. So Broodlord is debatably just better. However, Razaketh does have a bunch of utility and is a lot more resilient usually, but Broodlord is just kind of simply plain. And that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, I agree. God, these these headsets kill my brain. These Sony sound canceling headsets, I would not recommend. They're so tight if you have a
Uh,
big
you gotta
skull.
you gotta go for the aftershocks instead. These are the bone conduction things so that you can hear everything that's going on around you while you're doing whatever you gotta do.
What is that? Bone
Uh,
conduction?
yeah, so it's you have them on your temples instead of inside your ears or covering your ears, and you can hear everything that's going on around you. Like the sound feels like it's coming out of a radio right in front of you instead of like covering your ears.
Send me a link.
Look into those. Those are cool.
Yeah. So I want to go over some combos and play lines that were suggested in our recent community poll. You can join me over there by opening up a separate tab. There were a ton, but also feel free to comment out any of your... Oh, damn. Okay. Any of your favorite combos or playlines or win cons that you feel are underutilized, and we'd love to discuss them on the channel today and tell you if you're crazy. Tell you if you're just dead wrong. So the first one I want to look at is by Shay. And Shay is mentioning Kaldheim Vornklex with Planeswalkers. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to be an infinite combo. There are combos outside of infinite ones to discuss. So we all know what Planeswalkers are. I think the combo here is pretty obvious, but we can actually share this one with you guys. So Vornklex Monstrous Raiders, 4 generic and double green, 6/6 body, trample haste. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice as many, okay, you probably stop there, but twice as many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. So
Definitely
just
season.
get a lot of loyalty counters going. I think it's good. I think if this is your choice of legendary, yes. Like, yeah, obviously, Garruk. Get Garruk there much quicker. It's interesting to incorporate in the body of a 99, though. And you tell me your thoughts, Will. Is there an effective way? Because we just got the doubling season on a white creature, right? Or does that
Yeah,
not work?
I don't know if that one works with planeswalkers, but
Is that only like token doubling? I need to
I
see
can
what it's.
quickly check. Oh no, it's not doubling season. It just doubles the tokens. Yeah,
Okay.
that one just doubles the tokens, not the counters.
Okay. So this is this the only one attached to a body that does what we wanted to do with planeswalkers?
Full on doubling season. Yeah, I think there's a couple others that +1 loyalty things, but this is the only one to my knowledge that full on doubles. I will say, Ren and Realmbreaker with this is very funny because you can immediately alt it and then your graveyard is your hand.
So good. Yes, so good. Okay, so I would say that in the 99 of like a partner paired, like if you had this in the 99 with Tevesh as your commander, like obviously that's really good. It's costly, but 6 isn't that costly. I would say that like if Tevesh was your commander, partner commander anyways, you're going to have rituals in this list, and then green obviously has its own forms of ramp. You also have the spirit guide in these colors. That is a lot of a setup, but I mean Tevesh's ultimate is pretty good.
Usually game ending.
Right, and I think Tevesh gets there. Am I wrong? No, he's very close though. So you would go up to 8, and then all you'd need to do is make 2 Thrall. So you have a Vornklex blocking you, and then you have 2 more Thrall. Most people don't mainline Planeswalker removal, so I mean, if you're going for a Planeswalker sub-strategy, I would say that Vornklex is good. Just the simple fact that it's on a body and it's in green, so you have plenty of tutors to find it. I don't know if there's a clean playline for it necessarily. Maybe you know of one.
There's nothing that's like a very good immediately win, but like you have what's her name, the new Erazka, the Phyrexian completed Erazka that I believe just wins the game because it gives each opponent 9 poison counters, which doubles off of Vorinclex, giving each of them 18 poison counters, immediately killing them. So that's an immediate kill line, but
How do you spell that? Araska?
Vraska,
Oh,
she's completed.
I know Vraska. Wait, is it this?
Yep.
There you go. Phyrexian completed. Trying to find her. Oh, she's right there. Betrayal's Sting. So you're suggesting if you bring her up to 12, -9, if target player has fewer than 9 poison counters, they get a number of poison counters equal to the difference.
which is doubled by Vorinclex as well because you're putting counters on a player, so you put 18 poison counters on them instead, which immediately kills them. I'm not the
Over.
biggest fan of this combo, but
Yeah, yeah.
it is a combo.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I kind of like that pairing. And you're in Golgari if you're doing it, which is pretty good. So we have a suggestion of not an infinite combo, and this is Dylan in the chat here, live chat, but the interaction between the new Ob Nixilis and the Saga Urabrosk is really nice. Urabrosk refunds mana, and Ob Nixilis gives you card advantage. Yeah, it's nice when, I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, but I love it when you see mechanics just play well with each other in sets. And Urabrosk and I mean, Ouroboros just plays well with everything, but it does play very well with Ob Nixilis. So, yes, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Ouroboros deals 1 damage to target opponent, add a red. So, provided you're in the middle of storming, yeah, it's great. That's a good 1-2 punch. It's tough to say if Ouroboros is having played that Ob Nixilis and having brewed it with you guys live, I can state that it is mana hungry. So I could see incorporating, like we incorporate Prosper, right? I could see us incorporating Urabrosk. I will state, though, getting treasures off of Prosper is a little bit better. But the simple fact that you can turn this around and manipulate the back end of it just as effectively, like if the ball stops rolling or it slows down, use the red you've just produced to flip it and like burn someone's board, and then create the treasures to do relevant things on your next turn. Obviously, we relied on Staff of the Completed to push this to the third step in its saga very quickly. When we did the Ouroboros brew, it's funny that we brewed both of these on the channel live. So, not to say that it's needed in the 99, but it works very well in tandem with this, and I could see this being run in Ob Nixilis for sure. I like it a lot.
I do also want to say this for anyone who wants to try something unique and bring back an old deck. Urabrask is freaking insane in Thrasios Vile Smasher Curiosity Control. Because you Curiosity up your Urabrask, and when you cast an instant or sorcery, draw 3, gain a red.
Right. Yo, that's so good. Well, does that list also manipulate Bergi?
I'm not sure if they manipulate Bergi, but it's mainly because Urbrask
Does the damage.
multi-pings. That's why you'd probably play that. And also, that deck's in green, so you have all the creature tutors to find Urbrask. So have fun with that if someone is a Curiosity Control player. New tech for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. I love it when cards sort of expand upon older decks. That's why I really need to revisit some of my older decks. Like the one I keep and maintain is Oswald. I'm always looking out for it. And sadly, there hasn't been enough to really alter the shape or playstyle of that list. Halo Fountain was like the big one. I just win the game with Halo Fountain, and it's very fun to do. But yeah, nothing else has really altered how that deck wins. It just removed a previous win con for that, and now it's Walking Ballista in that, because it's very easy. Plus, it untaps Oswald, so like, why wouldn't you use it? But Dragoon of Death made the suggestion of Gilded Lotus, I believe is what they're trying to say. Gilded Lotus, a Deadeye Navigator, Zealous Conscripts, aka infinite mana plus you can steal the whole board. So Gilded, did I not? Oh, I did not. It's like this. So Gilded Lotus is 3 mana of any one color. Deadeye Navigator is it's this guy right here. So for a generic double blue 5/5 soulbound, and then you would obviously soulbind to your Zealous Conscripts. As long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has a generic and a blue. Exile this creature, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So what's unique about this is that when one comes back in, you can soulbind it. So do you also suggest the pirate for this one instead, Will?
No, because the pirate can't untap Gilded Lotus.
Oh, damn, it's not as good.
Zealous Conscript is needed here.
Right, so yeah. Infinite mana plus you can steal the whole board. That seems okay.
Yeah. It is only a hijack, not full on steal. So
right.
They get it back at the end of the turn, but it's very funny.
Right. I mean, the infinite mana aspect is actually kind of relevant though. Like if you have a payoff, then
Like your
then you're
opponent,
good.
Thrasios.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Steal anything of value from your opponents, or like your opponent's Najila, and you're just like, yeah, infinite swings with my infinite army of not my things.
It works.
Yeah, it does work. I guess whatever pod you throw it into, that one's a little bit harder to say I would slam into anything, but yeah, that works.
Yeah.
So Jeremy Richards says using DC and TP, demonic consultation, and toilet paper as tutors in food chain as tutors in food chain tutors, I found works well. I think we just added an extra word. Since they can exile most of the deck, including your creatures to cast from exile, is good. So let me see here.
It's a good setup.
Yeah, and either that or using the Turbo Pod Vivian by cheating it out with plain bound Accomplid to do similar combo lines with the Birthing Pod and Kiki Karmic Cat is fun. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, the new Birthing Pod Vivian. Yeah.
Right.
That has given so many cool play lines. I love that.
I haven't seen anyone really play her though. How do you spell her name? Is it not
Viven?
Viven? Nope, that one. I'm just gonna put Viv. That's okay. I'll find it.
Sorry.
What colors is she?
Mono green.
Am I looking at her?
Vivien. So I missed an I.
Is it the one when you cast your next creature?
No. There's one that literally just says as an additional cost. It's the Strixhaven one.
Strixhaven.
Or, not Strixhaven. City. What's it called?
New Capenna.
New Capenna. Yeah, Streets of New Capenna.
You may sacrifice a creature if you do search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to 1. Okay. Huh.
You sacrifice a 3-drop, get Felidar Guardian. Sacrifice Felidar Guardian, get what's the name of it? You get a freaking, what is it? It's Karmic Guide? Karmic Guide or something. Karmic Guide returns Felidar Guardian. Felidar Guardian flickers Karmic Guide, or flickers Vivian. Then you sacrifice Felidar, get Kiki, tap Kiki, reanimate Felidar, do the Kiki loop. So it's if you're in Naya, it's a pretty good combo because you just need Vivian and a 3-drop to win. So it's really cool. So
provided your commander is Nyan and 3 CMC, then you get there.
Yep, like you can run this in Najila too if you really want. You can run in anything that has at least Naya. And the reason why I like this over Birthing Pod to some extent is you don't have to pay mana to activate the effect. Birthing Pod, you always have to pay 2 life and 1 or 2 mana. But with this, no, you just go for it.
Would you say you should run both? Or would you say this is clearly better?
I like both just because they're both quite good. And I'm more of a fan of using Birthing Pod as a value piece instead of a combo piece. So I'd say run both. Because I run Tide Pod, Thrasios and Dargo, turn Dargo into Tidespout Tyrant.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's interesting. And Birthing Pod is one of those cards where I feel like people strictly see it as a combo card. But I've always looked at it as just a value piece. Like it's very good. Like you don't need to win the game with it. Again, it's like it's a combo enabler in and of itself. But that doesn't mean it has to be an infinite combo. You can just pull value out of your list. In the same way I like Pyre of Heroes. You don't necessarily need to be playing a tribal list. Provided a handful of your creatures have like the relevant subtypings, you can pull into so many things with Pyre of Heroes. That's another one that's really slept on. This is really good though. This is really very good. I also like that that's a plus ability. Like, just get a better board and here's 2 loyalty. Enjoy. But let me see if there's any from our live chat. Vornklex, then Ral Zarek is a great but expensive combo. Says Sunnyside friend. Hey, Sunnyside. I know Sunnyside well. If you're in the New York City area. But Vornklex, the one we just went over, and Ral Zarek. Do love Ral. Okay, so Ral Zarek is once I'm assuming we go up to 8 loyalty counters and -7 here, but flip 5 coins, take an extra turn after this one for each coin that comes up heads. So if you hit all tails, then feels bad. But Ral Zarek's probably one of the more interesting ultimates.
Yet also, I believe Vorinclex makes Ral's +1 a +2, so you can just chain extra turns together.
Really?
So
Wait.
yeah,
Tap target permanent, then untap another target permanent. Right.
so it's you have like 3 extra turns or 4 extra turns, then you
Sure.
go +2 +2 +2 -7, and
Right.
then you try to just chain them together. So there's some potential where you can take a lot more than just the 5 turns
Hmm.
if you get lucky.
Yeah, I like this though. I like the other one you suggested, which was Vraska. You know, obviously weighing whatever the best. I would say it's tough because I like when I'm looking at effects like that. I like to know I have one of the things accessible immediately. So I always look to see if there's any commanders I can leave in the CZ that are going to benefit off of someone like a Vorinclex. But both of these being in your 99 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Obviously, they're both fairly easy to hit pending your colors too. So yeah, I like this setup. What about what's the main? So Paul says, what's the main line in Oswald to win the game with Halo Fountain? So this is one of the cards I brought up earlier on, gang, and it's Mir Welder.
Let you
So,
go over this while I grab a drink.
oh no, go for it. All right, so this is going to take a while, anyways. But what I would recommend you do, it's a edutainment short I put out not that long ago on Mer Welder lines. But basically, what you're going to do is self mill until you've hit your 1,000 Year Elixir, Savine's Reclamation, and Mer Welder. You're going to bring back Mer Welder. Mer Welder is going to see Staff of Domination. It doesn't need to be Staff of Domination. It could be any artifact that allows you to untap itself, right? So exile the artifact. It's imprinted on Mer Welder. I now have the ability of Staff of Domination. Pay 1 to untap it. I believe it's 1. Then you're going to exile any mana positive rock. And I mean Mana Vault, Mana Crypt, a Soul Ring, and anything that's going to get you positive over the untap cost. Okay, exiled. Pay 1. Okay, so the setup was 2 mana going into it, right? Barring Mer Welders on the battlefield already. So once you make infinite generic mana, dig for anything else that's in your grave or anyone else's grave that makes colored mana, or even just an effect that lets you filter mana. So I guess like a Arkham's Astrolabe or something. Or we can even look at Staff of Dom. I think that Staff of Domination would actually just do it with what you have on the battlefield, right? So depending on your deck, it will vary. But you'll either exile a Mox Opal, or you can use Staff of Domination with any of your dorks, or hopefully a Birds of Paradise or something, to use that creature, like untap it, make colored mana, untap it, make colored mana. You need white mana. That's all that's relevant. So the important card to see here, and the one you're asking to discuss, is Halo Fountain. So what's unique about imprinting Halo Fountain onto Mer Welder is when you're paying for a spell or an effect, you do it in the sequence that's represented on the card. And here it says pay a white, tap, and untap a tapped creature you control. So say you have infinite white mana, right? That's what I was trying to talk you through. I don't know if I did well. Watch the short video I produced. It's much better at explaining this. But you're going to pay 1, tap, and then untap Mer Welder in the same instance. And I'm allowed to do that because it's a tapped creature. Make a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Okay, I'm going to pay 1, a white, tap, untap it. I'm going to make 14 of these. Depending on how many creatures I have, I don't need to make 15, but you're looking at the last effect here. So once you've made and you have 15 creatures, remember we've imprinted Staff of Domination. So all I need to do from here is tap target creature. So pay 4, tap Mer Welder, tap target creature. The citizen goes down. Pay 1, untap staff. Pay 4, tap target creature, untap staff. Tap all of my creatures down. Once all of my creatures are tapped, the requisite 15, I'll pay 5 white, tap, untap 15 tapped creatures you control. Win the game. Now, this is hard to interact with once you have infinite mana because I could just proceed to tap and untap as many times as I want, or create creatures. Not like you need to stop this before I have infinite mana. Or if infinite mana was part of the line to getting here, the pain point is when I use Merwelder to imprint Staff of Domination, get rid of Staff of Domination or get rid of Merwelder there. Otherwise, you're in a bind. But that is how you would win with Halo Fountain. I also just like the card in the deck because it says pay 1, tap an untapped target, tapped creature, excuse me. And in Oswald, this is just a 3 CMC untap effect, which is really good. I think by itself, it's very good, but generally speaking, you're using it for the win effect. The draw is actually useful too, but again, you're using it for the win effect. All right, so let's see what other combos we have. Tishman Hofstra says, what about the combo Karn the Great Creator, Pestilent Cauldron? Okay.
I don't actually think I know this one off the top of my head.
I'll have to look. Yeah. So activate abilities of all artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. One of the things that people will do is use this with that thing that makes all permanents artifacts, right? What's that called?
Mycosynth Lattice.
Mycosynth Lattice. So Mycosynth Lattice with Karn the Great Creator. Great. I have not seen Pestilent Cauldron though.
Oh, there it is, Pestilent Cauldron.
Right.
So
do you want to read it off?
It's a two-sided card. So yeah, I can read it off. It's a two-sided card. So the front side is 2 and a black for an artifact that says tap, discard a card, create a 1/1 black and green pest token with when this dies gain a life. Pay 1 and tap it. Each opponent mills cards equal to the amount of life gained this turn. And pay 4, tap it. Exile 4 target cards from a single graveyard, draw a card. You can play the backside, which is 3 green for sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature, land, and or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to your hand. Each player gains 4 life and then exile this. What is the combo here?
Exile 4 target cards from a single graveyard, and then Karn has, you may choose an artifact card you own outside the game or in exile. Is that what we're looking at? The recovery? It's 4 and a tap to exile 4 cards from a single graveyard, though, so it can be yours. So if the suggestion is exile things from your grave, draw a card, 4 is a lot to say it's a good value proposition. But then if you have Karn out, you could bring an artifact back. I would say that's an interesting... Like, it's an interesting scenario to have both of those on the field. I don't know if I would... Like, Karn the Great Creator is a good card. Like, it's a good stacks piece. You want to run it anyways. And the +1 effect is basically to nuke any sort of 0 CMC rocks your opponents might have, right? But Pestilent Cauldron, I don't think is going to see play in too many lists, but it is a combo that does exist, if that's what we're referring to. And I'll see if... So yes, that's not it. Hofstra says the backside.
So you play the backside, you get Karn back from your graveyard and something else, then you return this from exile with Karn. That's interesting. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's very similar to the Shigeki loops. I'd recommend Shigeki over this. So we kind of did this in the Yargle Multani deck, but there's a much simpler style of combo with Shigeki. You can do Shigeki with a regrowth to loop anything from your graveyard infinitely, because Shigeki returns a regrowth plus any number of cards you want from your graveyard, and regrowth returns Shigeki. So you can do that to cast your graveyard infinitely with infinite mana. You can also use that to make infinite mana, because if you have a Marwyn or Selvala, you can keep returning untap effects that buff that card so that you can make infinite mana and then loop through your deck infinitely. Mm-hmm. I like Shigeki over this, but this is a cool combo that I didn't know existed either. The Pestilent Cauldron Karn combo. That's pretty cool.
That is really, yeah. No, that is interesting setup, and I like that it's just utilizing the back end. But no, and it's fantastic that you can use the negative to get it back. I guess you could use it with anything that exiles itself, but Paul, just on your note in regards to Oswald, Goblin Cannon's really not good outside of like the actual win con. I would recommend you just play Walking Ballista or Halo Fountain instead for the win, because they're good in the deck outside of being used as combo pieces. And generally speaking, when it comes to the conversation of combos, playlines, and win cons, I prefer that my win cons be value pieces in the deck just by themselves, and then consequently operate as a win. Walking Ballista, I could say, is almost solely there for a win, but Halo Fountain is at least a value outside of, doing the thing. Not to say Goblin Cannon isn't something you can run. I've seen it run in many an Oswald list. It's just not what I would recommend first. I would say that Walking Ballista and Halo Fountain are more than enough for my own list, though, and it's definitely something to try out. But to continue on the line, playing Vadrik, says Ryan Drees, cast it with Chef's Kiss, and it can combo to cast any 3 CMC instant sorcery in your graveyard infinite times. So, accurate. Right, and I've not actually played with Vadrik, but it's one of the ones that it's weird. They mutate. They stack mutate.
No. So Vadrik is the Izzet commander that says if it's neither day nor night, it becomes day. And whenever it becomes day or night, put a +1/+1 counter on him. Your instants and sorceries cost X less, where X is his power.
Oh, they spelled Vadrik.
Oh, different Vadrik then.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, no. Well, because I don't know if it works with this one. Here, let's read this one first, and then we'll go to Vadrik, not Vadrock. Vadrock. Oh. It's like a very.
No, yeah. The way they said it, yes, it's Vadrock. It's Vadrik is the Izzet one. Vadrock is the graveyard one.
Jeskai, 3/3, flying, first strike. Whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. And Chef's Kiss reads, for 1 generic and double red instant speed, gain control of target spell that targets only a single permanent or player. Copy it, then reselect the targets at random for the spell and the copy. The new targets can't be you or a permanent you control. So does that work with Vadrock?
Let me check because I just want to make sure.
Right. Yeah, Shigeki plus Colossal Sky Turtle is fun channel loop. Nice. But yeah, so I'm going to look at the Vadrik as well because
So Vadrock is a triggered ability, not a spell, so you can't copy it. But it is kind of interesting. But I'm not sure if they meant by Chef's Kiss the actual card or Chef's Kiss, like Vadrock, just comboing to do anything. But yeah, you may cast a non-creature thing 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I know that you don't have to change the targets, but the issue is that you have to. Yeah, mutate doesn't target, does it? So is it if you mutate?
Mutate is just like you cast it
on.
You're
right. So it's nothing. Nothing would be targeted for Vadrock, and Chef's Kiss doesn't let you copy the trigger. So I don't think that works.
Yeah, Ryan, I hate to burst your bubble. Yeah, but I'm not sure that this works. But Vadrik works, you're saying?
Vadrik is just a combo with literally anything. Vadrik is I legitimately thought before they were saying Chef's Kiss is in metaphor, not as the literal card. Okay. But Vadrik is just, here's any spell? I can combo with that.
I've not seen this guy played. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because you just pass your turn and then it always flips to night, and then you get a counter on him and you play all of your stuff on your opponent's turns instead, and then it becomes day, and then you get another counter on him and your stuff costs even less.
Oh, that's so good. All right, well, I kind of want to play Vadrik now. Maybe not Vadrock. Yeah. I didn't really like anything from that set, if I'm being honest. The legendaries from, what is this called? Ikoria.
There are some crazy things that you can do with Vadrock, if I remember correctly, because if you have Vadrock, Dockside Extortionist, and any bounce spell, you can keep recast. You can Vadrock onto Dockside, which then gives you a bounce spell in your graveyard. You cast it bouncing Vadrock and Dockside because that's how that works, and you get both back in hand. Recast Dockside, recast Vadrock, and then combo, 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 combo.
Right. They're saying that mutating targets in the chat, Tishman. Mutating targets? I don't think it does, or at least it doesn't
So
say in the
yeah,
reminder.
mutate. If you cast this spell for its mutate cost, put it in. Put it over or under. Oh yeah,
Target.
target.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so put it over or under target.
And then Chef's Kiss
Ah,
says gain control
yeah.
of target. It says gain control of target spell.
It's
So
basically copy target spell.
right. So you would gain control of Chef's Kiss.
So it's you use it to copy Vadric, and then the copy will resolve, letting you cast Chef's Kiss from your graveyard, copying or targeting the Vadric again, getting to another copy of it, getting another copy, getting another copy, and each time that you get the new Vadric, you get multiple mutate triggers, and you can cast your entire graveyard infinitely. That's cool. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it targeted it. I misread it because I thought it just said put it over under non-human. I missed the target there. Yeah, no, that works. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm trying to Chef's Kiss like she is. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Exquisite. Yeah, exquisite. Okay. What's
that's
her name
interesting.
again? What is her name again?
Hmm. Is that as more no more digitized in a Culticar?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, she's giving the chef's kiss. Okay, that's dope. And thanks to Tishman for
Yes, it is. Is it?
helping us through that one. I think that is her.
I'm not sure if that's her.
Well,
I mean, I was gonna say they don't have her name in the quotes of the flavor text, but then
right.
I realized, can they fit it?
Probably not. That would have been the entirety of the flavor text.
But
But
yes, that does indeed work. I didn't even realize that it does target. So yeah, that's interesting. That's
yeah,
cool.
I like that a lot. I would say that if you're on Vadrock, then you should probably be on Chef's Kiss. I think that's probably easy enough to say.
I'm glad we didn't move on. We let the chat catch up with us because for people who don't know, the chat is like the video of the stream and everything is like delayed by 8 to 5 seconds or something like that. So we have to
Right.
wait.
Yeah, the chat is our lifeblood when it comes to verifying. But Tishman,
Some
again, thank
weird
you.
freaking combos. I like this combo though. That is very cool because you're in blue, so it's very easy to set this up.
Right, right. It's so funny. I do like it. I'm liking this video today, by the way. It's nice just going over like combos and play lines that because I've never seen this one before. So it's nice hearing what people like to manipulate or play and then just seeing how it functions. This is a good one though for Vadrock for sure. And it turns out everyone thinks that well, not everyone. 66% of you think that Abdel looks like Brad Pitt. So compliments to you, Abdel. You look like Brad Pitt. That's a high praise.
Indeed.
Harrison Heppelman says, I still play Aegis Storm and Aetherflux is my personal favorite. Even without Cascade, you can make 5 to 6 mana post Naws to get it down and cast a few spells. You can get life back, and that's the worst case scenario. Yeah, Aetherflux Reservoir, like the Fishbowl is definitely I wouldn't say it's undervalued. It's still a playable win con in a lot of lists if you're storming, in much the same sense that a grape shot is. But what's nice about it is like the life gain is legit, like Harrison was saying here. Like it's not a bad card, and this is one of the win cons that I manipulated personally in my own Tevesh Rock Rack list. Like it's just good. It doesn't hurt that much off the ad naus. You get, like you're saying, Harrison, you get the life back after you've cast it. You'll definitely want to cast it. And then obviously, if you've stormed any number of, any bit in that turn, and remember, you can stack the triggers on this to gain even more life. It's really good. It's good.
Yeah.
What do you think about Aetherflux Reservoir as a win con? Because that's all it really is. Like, it's
I
a
mean,
win
like
con.
it combos with Bolas' Citadel as well for the whole Sensei's top loop. So it's
Mhm.
still like a semi-reasonable combo piece that people do play. But I think it should be seeing a lot more play just because people should probably be playing the Shimmer package a little bit more. You know,
Mm.
Necropotence plus Shimmer Mirror because we got Liberator recently, which makes it way more consistent.
Is it Urza's Liberator? Is that what it's called?
It's Liberator Urza's Battlethopter, I think.
Of course. Yeah. Right. So
So
we have more options for
yeah, because
colorless flash.
Shimmers are kept bricking. I think it's like 25% of the time originally shimmers or
Hmm.
would brick. And it's because they only had shimmer mirror. And if you wanted to be fancy, Entomb plus like Shallow Grave or something to get the combo off. But then the Rust package came out, which just said screw using Shimmer Mirror. If we hit it, we hit it. If we don't, then we just Shallow Grave out Thoracle or something and win.
Hmm.
And then Urza's Battlethopter came out, and now we have another Shimmer Mirror. So I honestly think that we should see more decks that are just, hey, Necropotence pay down to like 5 life, play a Flash, one of the Flash Boys, and then play a couple rocks, play the Fishbowl, win.
Play one of the Flash Boys.
Yeah, one of the Flash Boys, just one of the guys that gives all your stuff Flash.
Uh,
Because
uh,
once you get once you get the Fishbowl into play and you keep playing all of your other mana rocks, you're hitting like triple digit life total pretty quickly, and then you are killing at minimum 2 people.
hmm.
So
That's
I
not
think
bad.
that the Fishbowl should see a little bit more play.
I like Fishbowl a lot. It's the same cost as the Golden Throne. So
Yeah.
Tishman's saying that this is a combo that works. The Golden Throne and Ad Nauseam. So grab your entire deck, staying at 1 life. So Ad Nauseam is part of its cast. So what we're looking at, I'm assuming, is Arcane Life Support. If you would lose the game, instead exile the Golden Throne, and your life total becomes 1. So it would... Okay. Let's read Ad Nauseam together. Not that we haven't seen this card, but instant speed Ad Nauseam for 3 generic and a black. The typical 1-2 punch here is Angel's Grace, but with the Golden Throne. 3 generic, double black, instant speed. Reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. So, will this sustain you throughout Ad Nauseam?
So I believe what will happen is that you can keep going with the effective ad nauseum even if you're dead, and then once the trigger has or the once the spell has finished resolving, then the state-based actions can occur, and then you'll be revived back to 1. I believe that's how that will work. However, it could also just revive you in the middle of the effect and then exile
That's what I'm
itself,
thinking.
and
Right.
then you have another Adnaz flip if you want to keep going. So I'm not actually sure how this one works,
I
but
think you're still resolving the Ad Nauseam, though. Right?
yeah,
But if you don't, like,
it's a
if
state-based action thing.
right. But I get what you're saying, though, like Tishman, that you could go down to a -1,000 life, and then by the end of the spell resolving, as a state-based action, you would lose the game for having negative life. But then, as this card says, if you would lose the game, instead exile the Golden Throne. I don't think that this card would its effect would be recognized until after Ad Nauseam resolves. I
Yeah,
don't think
correct.
so. I do think this works. That's actually kind
Yeah,
of cool. You don't apply state-based actions as long as the spell is still being resolved. Exactly. Yeah, I like it. It obviously it's a little expensive, but I mean, I think the Golden Throne by itself. Speaking of like black decks, like TCG is making thralls. So use 1 thrall to draw 2 cards, and then use the or one card. Whatever.
use
Use
one
one.
thrall to make 3 mana.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So make mana, draw a card. That's actually kind of a cool 1-2 punch, just the Golden Throne with Tevesh.
It's
But
just pseudo Gilded Lotus. Are you gonna throw this in a Rog Tevish?
maybe it's not a list I enjoy playing that often, but maybe. I want to do, like I was saying, I kind of want to do like a hermit self-mill thing. Just for the fun of it. But Marlena the Morn Song and Opposition Agent, well,
Oh, yeah,
is an
that's
oldie goodie. Morn Song is probably the commander, presumably. But if you don't know who Marlene,
I call her Marlin the Morn song, like just
Marlin,
Lin.
Morrowind. So both easily castable and in the colors of tutors should be considered in any black X deck in the same way Heliod Ballista is considered for any white X deck. That's interesting. So, Vegan Economist, a frequent viewer of the channel and commenter, is suggesting this one. So if you don't know Opposition Agent, that's the one that's not on screen, but basically you control your opponents as they search their library, correct?
Yeah. Opposition agent is you control your opponents while they search their library. When an opponent searches a card, uh, you exile it and
Mm-hmm.
then may cast it instead of putting it wherever it would go.
Right, so it's 6 CMC total. Marlin allows you, with in tandem with a opposition agent, to just find whatever you want from their deck and play it. And that player is also subsequently losing 3 life. So at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player loses 3 life and searches his or her library for a card, puts that card in his or her hand, and then shuffle his or her. All right.
Everyone is also locked out of the game because they can't draw cards. So whatever they have in their hand, that is all they will have for the entirety of the game. Which it's
Right.
a cool win con. There's better things in mono black.
You would say.
Yeah, because
You wouldn't want
there's
to.
a
You want to court of tooth and nail this out. You wouldn't do that.
no, I would not.
You would rather
Because
just to win the game with 2
you have
creatures.
a Asmo Ooze, you have Bolus the Citadel. Like
Mm.
those are just two combos that are pretty good generic black wins. There's another combo that I said in the middle of this video that I'm like, oh, here's another black combo for people. Oh, and we also now have a Hoarding Broodlord as the third mono black combo. So we really just don't need this as a combo. I think we're good.
I don't. I don't dislike it though. Tishman says in the live chat here, "Oh, I've beaten that combo with my own opposition agent casting mine later." Right. So the replacement effects, the way they would stack is that it's what is it? Last in, first out. What's the deal?
Weirdly enough, for the replacement effects, the person whose effect is being replaced gets to choose how they resolve. So they get to choose who exiles it.
So it
So it's
wouldn't
because
work.
I only know this because Hull Breacher plus Notion Thief. Your opponents get to choose if someone makes treasures or if someone draws cards with each of their draws.
Okay.
So with double opposition agent, I think it is they choose since it's a replacement for
Mm-hmm.
exiling it instead of putting it wherever it would go.
Got you. So I'm gonna turn to. Ooh, sorry. I'm gonna because we have a lot to go through from the suggested comments in our community post, but there's a few that are happening in the live that I want to look at really quick. So Paul Lloyd is talking about the new Rona combo that we discussed in our tier list video, but it's so weird. So you have Rona Herald of Invasion, and then you'd be able to use Mox Amber and Retraction Helix banishing Knack. Is it just Mox Amber, or is it also
Mox Amber
Mox
and Mox Opal.
Diamond, Mox
Mox
Opal
Amber and Mox Opal are the two.
that are legendary?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't know the effect, it's whenever you cast a legendary spell, untap Rona Herald of Invasion. That's all we need to look at here. And then, so this doesn't really fall into combos, playlines, or, like that we feel are underplayed or underutilized. This is sort of a fresh one. But
Yeah.
moving
People are using this. This is
right.
pretty good, actually.
I think that if you're playing Rona, yes, you'll use this. But until end of turn, target creature gains return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So obviously you're gonna return the legendary 0 cost rock to your hand, play it, untap Rona, gain infinite mana of any color, right, with either of those two. Or rather, is Mox Amber, it's any color, right?
Mox Amber or Mox Opal's any color. Mox Amber is
right.
a color of a legendary on your board.
It's
or legendary creature.
It's less relevant because the next effect doesn't cost you anything. So basically, you're going to want to leverage this with your looting. Is this accurate? Or retraction heal? Yeah, pull the thing back, put it down. She untaps. You make infinite mana. That's there. And then the finisher would be infinite mana, draw, discard. You would still need to tap her for the retraction helix.
Sorry. Yeah, you just make infinite mana is how the combo works. It isn't really anything past that, but it's still a good combo.
Rona is commander. That's just 2 mana looter. And blue black seems good. I think that it's a playable combo if Rona is your commander. I wouldn't say that it's something I would fit into the 99 of any deck because it's very situational. It's still 3 cards, you know what I mean? And I mean, if you had something that doubled the trigger, the untapped, you could technically, I guess, make mana right? Like whenever a permanent enters the battlefield, if it causes the ability of a permanent to trigger, it triggers twice, something like that, like a Panharmonicon effect. Then with 2 untapped triggers, you could technically loot and Retraction Helix. But that's adding to the, what I'm saying is this card. Monicon. If an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger that an additional time. So basically you could loot through and make infinite mana with Rona. So that's a lot of cards to rely on, but it's not difficult to get there in Dimir. I like it. If you have the outlet in your hand, that's even better. Yeah. Really, it could just be a tutor. You just tutor the one solution you need.
So going to something that Tijman said, because he brought back the opposition agent line. So I am correct but incorrect simultaneously. So it says if multiple players control opposition agent, the one that came in most recently controls the player while that player is searching. And then the player who's searching may choose who exiles the card so that they can cast it later. However, the player whose opposition agent came in later controls that player and is allowed to make the decision for them. Thus, the person whose opposition agent came in later will always get the card. So technically, I am right. That person decides who gets the card exiled so that they can play it. However, the second opposition agent gets to decide instead of that player. So I'm both correct and incorrect.
Technical right's always good, though. Technical right's usually good. But yeah, Tishman, thank you for the rule check there. So we have another combo that's being suggested by Cool Breeze. Cool Breeze is stating, and I like what's being suggested here, and it was kind of like the premise for this whole video, really. Wizard class plus Fathom Mage, then Laboratory Maniac. So Wizard class needs to take a lot of steps. It needs to level up before you can actually do the thing. But basically, Wizard class is 1 blue, you have no maximum hand size. Really great. People are going to love it for that. Not really. 2 generic and a blue. When this class becomes level 2, draw 2 cards. Okay, you're 4 mana in. What do you get at the final level? For 4 generic and a blue, whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So Fathom Mage, if you've never seen this, I believe it's Simic. Okay, Fathom Mage. For 2 generic and Simic, 1/1, evolve. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is put on Fathom Mage, you may draw a card. So it's a little awkward because the line could end, but you would want Laboratory Maniac out, right? Is what they're suggesting. So Wizard class plus Fathom Mage, then Laboratory Maniac. I think you can level like it's sorcery speed, right? So you draw the cards, and then whenever you draw a card, +1/+1. So it's a little bit of a slow combo. But the idea is to use Labman instead of Thassa's Oracle because, why would you use that? You've got Laboratory Maniac. And I was thinking to myself, like, I remember, and I already stand on one side of the argument, but is Laboratory Maniac a dead card?
For me personally, no.
Okay, so for me, I remember when... So there's Laboratory Maniac for years, and then there is Lab Jace, which is Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, that does the same thing, essentially. And I'm like, okay, can they make it easier for blue to win? They just gave it more redundancy. Can they make it any easier to win in blue? And of course, Thassa's Oracle was printed, and I'm like, well, damn. And then I was watching people brew lists that were like supposed to be fast and efficient, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to keep Labman in. Yeah, I'm going to keep Jace Wilder's Mystery in still. And I'm like, why? Why? Everyone's doing the same thing as you. Just use Praetor's Grasp. Like, if you really fail, just steal their thing. Do it that way. And at least and there you go. Again, like I was saying earlier with Oswald, I prefer to have my combo pieces also just be value cards. And Praetor's Grasp is just a value card. But then you just run that and steal theirs. Or if they failed, you grab your Mnemonic Betrayal, steal it again. I just never saw a need for a Laboratory Maniac to be in the body of the 99 of a deck that's relying on Thassa's Oracle for a win, because every other blue deck is going to be doing the same thing in a cEDH meta. So I I like that you suggest this though, Cool Breeze. It's nice seeing Wizard Class come up, or Laboratory Maniac come up in a conversation again with a specific draw combo. I can't say that this is something that you should be running in the 99, but it is certainly underutilized.
Yeah,
But
like that is a very good combo for casual, just
mhm,
because Wizard's class is very good in casual in general, and you can definitely run the other card in any +1/+1 counter synergy deck,
mhm.
and that's really good. So that's a really good casual combo.
Well, a Wizard Class in the suggestion from the chat by Paul is Benthic Biomancer. Same thing with Adapt. When Benthic's cheaper. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on Benthic Biomancer, draw a card, then discard a card. So
It's loot.
well, it might even be better. Like if you're on an Underworld Breach strategy, then what you could do is just loot, 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 loot. Oh, Underworld Breach. I'll discard this land instead. Loot, 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 loot. Stop. Put the +1/+1 on anything else.
Yeah.
Play Underworld Breach, right? It's just cheaper to set up because, again, the cost of getting Wizard Class there is just a little much. But what I like about this is the adapt effect, right? You could just put the +1/+1 on him. But this one had Evolve whenever a creature enters the battlefield. I like Benthic Biomancer more.
I also do want to say Benthic Biomancer is cleaner, even if you want to do Labman stuff, because you can draw through your deck, discard Labman, instant speed out Labman with Shallow Grave and keep going, because Wizard's class does not say May, and Benthic Biomancer does not say May. So you have to keep going if Benthic Biomancer is the only creature on your board, and you will deck out, unless you instant speed out Labman.
So what do you use Laboratory Maniac in, and why would you say it's still viable?
I use Labman in any deck that intends to reanimate and uses the Thoracle lines because, for instance, Rustzer. Rustzer is the one deck that I think actively needs Labman and thinks that Lab Jace is actually worse than Labman because you can't reanimate Jace. So the idea is that you use Necropotence, draw a bunch of cards in your deck, then you use Shallow Grave effects to get back Thassa's Oracle or Laboratory Maniac. The fun part of that deck is you can have multiple wins on the stack at a time with opponents countering all of your stuff, and I've seen this happen a lot with my friend. He'd Shallow Grave out Thassa's Oracle. Thassa's Oracle trigger in response, someone would stifle Thassa's Oracle, and then in response, he'd get out Laboratory Maniac at instant speed, then cast him on a Consultation and win the game off of Labman. So redundancy is what let him do that, and that's the only time that I think Labman specifically is good if you're planning on using Reanimates and the Thoracle lines.
Okay.
That's when Labman's good. And it's there for redundancy. It's not better than Thoracle, but there are some times when you just need to.
Right, so you'd say it's not necessarily dead then.
Yeah, like it's definitely been smacked down much lower than where it was before, but it still has uses. It's good enough.
Okay, so I've got one that's interesting down here by Vegan Economist. We went over one of the combos you suggested earlier, by the way. But Enduring Renewal and Walking Ballista or something similar, Skirk Prospector, etc. Plus any ETB, LTB effect. So Enduring Renewal is like an oldie. Oldie and a goldie. I'm going to read the revised text. I think it's more or less the same, but play with your hand revealed. If you would draw a card, reveal the top card of your library instead. If it's a creature card, put it into your graveyard, otherwise draw a card. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return it to your hand. Okay, so any ETB, LTB effects with Walking Ballista. So what's
I will say this is actually used in cEDH.
Which... Okay, well, explain.
So there's the new Dragon Commander AO. I think it's AOE, or yeah, AOE is how you spell that, I think. Right? No, it's not. It's just A and O, correct?
AO.
Yeah, AO.
Wait.
Where is he? He's the new dragon.
Hey yo, you that dragon I heard about? Where is he?
Hold on,
Hey yo, the Dawn Sky.
Yep, AO the Dawn Sky. So,
Hey, yo, you that dragon spirit I heard about?
so the reason why
It's so
Enduring
good.
Renewal is so good in this deck is because it lets you return AO to keep trying to storm off, but it also lets you return Ornithopter that you can sacrifice to Phyrexian Altar to make infinite colorless mana. So there's like a million and one dumb combos that you can do with this, and it actually does see play in AO the Dawn Sky. So
Well, how you it's okay, so you have infinite mana first or what? Like you're not casting the thing for free.
So the idea is that you get AO out, you sacrifice AO and keep trying to return him with a bunch of these weird white reanimate effects and things like that,
Uh-huh.
or copy effects, or anything that you can to keep getting AO triggers. And then you eventually hit Enduring Renewal, and you keep going with even more shenanigans until you assemble more creatures that allow you to keep going, and then you da 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 da. It's like a mono white storm deck. It's very weird, but I've seen it do work really well. Like it does Nim Death Mantle stuff. It does like all the weird old combos that you wouldn't think of, but it is a strangely effective deck that can go through everything very quickly.
Does Nim Death Okay, yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
is a combo. It's a combo that sees play right now, actually, in one very specific deck.
You know what I've always wanted to work? Wait, wait. There's a Oathkeeper to Kano's Dice Show. This is something I've always wanted to combo with. Just while we're on the topic, I just want to throw this out there. I did come up with a combo with this before, but it wasn't very good. But
This card.
this is a
Yeah.
card that I've always wanted to leverage for a win. So maybe that's the deck I make next. I just want to do cEDH things with a freaking katana set. So, Takena's Dice Show, legendary artifact equipment. Oh, this would trigger Rona. Oh, equipped creature gets +3/+1. Less relevant then. Whenever equipped creature is put into a graveyard from play, return that card to the to play under its owner's control if it is a samurai. Okay, so it's almost like Nim Deathmantle, except the equipment cost is less and it needs to be a samurai. Okay. Whenever Oathkeeper Takena's Dice Show is put into a graveyard from play, remove equipped creature from the game. Okay, so you need it's samurai, not tribal, but it's a samurai that's doing this. And then you need a sacrifice effect, and then you need something like Carnival of Souls or to get the ball rolling on infinite mana, right? Ashnod's Altar, Carnival of Souls, or something better than Carnival of Souls, or just have something that makes the equipment cost of things 0, right? But basically, it's just a sick card that is just not played, and I've always wanted to play it. It has 1 printing. Anyways, let's go over some more combos that people are suggesting from the comment section. So we have, I'm always amazed, and this is not going to say, but you did say, I'm always amazed at how many people pass up the opportunity to make infinite tokens with Ivy Lane Denizen and either Scurry Oak or Herd Baloth. So Scurry Oak is newer. Herd Baloth is been around if I'm not mistaken.
I
But if
believe
you
both of them actually got printed in Modern Horizons. I
is that a
think.
fact?
I think.
Or well, we'll look at them in
Or
a
Modern
second.
Horizons 2. I mean,
Right. I feel like Herd. Okay. Well,
I
for
think you're
3
thinking
generic,
of Rampaging Baloth.
yeah, that's the one I've seen a billion times. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll look up Herd Baloth then. So the other one makes, well, we'll look at both of them. For 3
Yeah.
generic and a green creature, elf, warrior, 2/3 body, whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So you kind of get where we're going here. But not going to say is saying that they're confused as to why these aren't leveraged more. So for 3 generic, so 7 mana total, it has evolve. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature's power is greater or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So you can technically start it up by having Scurry Oak out and then casting Ivy Lane Denizen, because whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Scurry Oak, you may create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Oh, Ivy Lane Denizen says, green creature, here's a +1/+1, +1/+1, green squirrel. I think part of the issue here is that they're slow, but that can be fixed by having the right commander that's enabling haste, or just the deck body allowing for haste. And there's plenty of effects, like just in green you have Concordant Crossroads, but obviously expanding upon that you have much more. You can give haste a million ways. But Herd Baloth.
I think it's the same thing, but it costs 5, I think, and it makes 4/4s, and it doesn't have evolve.
Oh, I much prefer evolve. That's so funny. I much prefer the Scurry Oak. I think Scurry Oak is the one.
I mean, it's also 2 less mana, and infinite 1/1s and infinite 4/4s still does infinite damage. So
right. Unless they're running what's it called? Unless they're running this, what's it called?
Creatures get like creature tokens get -1, -0. I can't remember the name of that.
Right, it's something spark, and then it has an overload, and then you just do 1 damage to everything.
Oh no, I was thinking of there's something like evil protection talisman or something like that, or it's just something talisman, and it just says creature tokens your opponents control get -1, -0.
Oh, I was thinking of Electrickery, sir.
Yeah.
You read Electrickery and you deal 1 damage to everything.
Yeah.
Your squirrels are dead. So on that note, not gonna say, why don't people use that combo more? I think that it's the fact that it's narrowed down to solely green creatures kind of stunts it, but it's not like it's impossible to do or difficult to do. Aren't there things you can do with also the nest, the squirrel nest, or squirrel nest on a land with the thing that untaps basics?
Yeah, it's a squirrel's nest plus
Earthcraft, right? So I feel like I've seen people do things with Ivy Lane Denizen in that. I don't think it's bad. I just think that there are probably more efficient things to be going for, right? Things that work on the spot without having to work around it.
So it uses 2 creatures, which is really good for green. However, the simplest version of the combo is 7 mana. It uses 2 dead cards, and it doesn't immediately win. You have to wait a turn. Unless you have a mass haste enabler like Crashing Drawbridge or Crossroads.
Right,
So,
and Crashing Drawbridge itself is slow. Like, it needs to be there before it can crash and, do the thing.
So that's the problem with this combo. It's just that you have to wait a turn. And it's still a very good combo, and it is like definitely going to be playable. Probably not as well in cEDH, but it's definitely playable. If you're doing something like Samut, then yeah, sure. The squirrels have haste, then kill them.
Yeah, like that's barring she's still on the battlefield, right? So
yeah. So
well, that's why. Sorry,
it's just sadly slow.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like the self-mill stuff with Anger in the Grave, and you have a mountain. Like I like that a lot. So I think that's probably what I want to build around next, because I also have one of those older foil Angers that I've always wanted to play from Judgment, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
He looks so dumb. I love it so much. I want to use my Hermit Druid and I want to use my Anger. Give me the legend. Give me the legend, people. It's the next list I make in paper. Please give me a good legend for that list, and maybe we'll brew it together, actually. I'd love to brew my next paper list with you guys. But, sorry.
To summarize the point, the reason why no one plays it is it's 7 mana, uses 2 dead cards, and you have to wait a turn to win. So it's kind of meh.
Did you have to put it that way, Will? Couldn't you have been kinder? No, I'm not going to say. Will's just saying you shouldn't have said it. But I appreciate your suggestion, sir. I appreciate it.
I much prefer Hanger Scrounger plus the what's it called?
Yes, Seeker of Skybreak. Seeking
kind of better in my opinion, because Seeker is good. Hanger Scrounger is a little bit of card cycling if you really need it. Mm-hmm. So those both actually do something.
Right, and Vegan said the same thing we mentioned. Earthcraft Squirrel's Nest exists, and isn't that kind of better? Yeah, it's kind of better. Because Earthcraft is just good by itself anyways. Another card I sold and just don't have anymore. Oh my gosh. At any rate, the Ancient says, recently realized that patron of the Orochi, yes, this card's kind of cool, goes infinite with a good amount of cards after building an EDH deck online with the commander. So that, I guess. So this was your suggestion. We can talk about some of the combos with patron of the Orochi. So I love these like offering cards that they haven't reprinted this keyword in a while, but I remember mentioning patron of Nakazumi, the rat offering one that I've always wanted to play with. But this is 6 generic and double green, 7/7 legendary creature spirit. Ooh, back to the good old days where it's 3 hits and you're out. We have legendary creature spirit snake offering. You may play this card anytime. You could play an instant by sacrificing a snake and paying the difference in mana cost between this and the sacrificed snake. Mana cost includes color. So these are really cool for just shooting these out onto the battlefield and potentially winning with them. But it also has the effect of tap, untap all forest and all green creatures. Play this ability only once each turn. So where's the infinite? The Ancient didn't make any statements as to what their combo would be, but I think we're pretty smart. We can figure something out on the spot for this. What would you do?
Uh, there's a lot of things that nearly get there, but I don't have a ton of things that are fantastic. I know that you can use. I'm quickly going on to a Commander spellbook because
Are
they
you
have like
cheating? Are you?
yes.
No,
I'm
wait,
like
don't tell me. Wait, don't tell me.
okay.
I'll do it. Oh, wait.
It's
You have your favorite. You have that commander, the white commander that blinks things.
true, but then it's not going to enter with haste.
Livia? No, it wouldn't enter with haste, would it? Okay.
No.
Okay, so we're obviously on Samut, has been suggested this video.
I will say you're not going to guess any of the lines.
I'm not going to guess any of the lines. Tell me how many cards are in of the play line.
So for some of them, you can get as low as just the patron and another card, but it's very weird cards. The average is 3 cards.
I like the challenge. Okay. A patron and 1 card?
There's one combo that uses patron in 1 card, and it's I will spoil a little bit of it. It is a Sultai commander. Or not Sultai. Yeah, no, Sultai, right? White, black, or blue, green, black. Am I blanking on the name? Sultai?
Okay, I'm just so curious.
Yeah.
I want to know what commander is it? What is doing this?
Volrath the Shape Stealer.
Oh,
You can, yeah, you can pay 1 to turn him into the snake, and then just repeat that.
hold up. Wait. Untap all forest and green creatures. Oh, wait. Until your next turn, Volrath to becomes a copy of target creature with a counter on it, except it's a 7/5. So it's not a 7/7 though. That kind of
7/5
hurts.
and has this ability, but what you do is you pay 1, and it becomes a new copy of the patron, and then you pay 1, it becomes a new copy because it can keep targeting itself. And then you just keep doing that, and that refreshes the ability, and then it will untap itself with the patron's effect.
So all you need is a good way to cheat an Orochi that isn't expensive and have Volrath down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're gonna make infinite mana anyways.
Yeah, that's going to be infinite mana, and that's going to be infinite untaps for your green creatures. Like it's good. I will say the other lines are like pretty much weird kiki jiki abuse stuff in a very interesting way. Or Quicksilver Elemental. Quicksilver Elemental is one of the weirder cards, but you need to make it green to do the loop. So you have to have a color changer as part of the combo.
Wait, there's some goodies in that department, the color changers. Aren't there some old ass cards that do the color changing?
Yeah. So the idea is that you have Quicksilver Elemental, which you pay a blue to make it, give it all the effects of the Orochi. Then you tap it. After making it green, you tap it, untapping it and all of your other green creatures. Then you pay another blue and then tap it and repeat because you have to keep refreshing the ability.
Is there a Necrotic Ooze line for Orochi? Is there a activate?
Not really.
Okay, so
Because it's the once per turn is linked to the ability.
I
I mean, the ability and the creature, so either or, but yeah.
Mirage Mirror becomes copy of target creature, artifact creature, enchantment until end of turn. I mean, you can sort of set up these triggers, but then So you would need,
Mirage Mirror loses the effect after it transforms, so it's
right.
not infinite.
Well, but you could pay 2 generic and make it copy it can make it copy Orochi and then itself, right? Or itself and then Orochi and stack it that way. Do the thing and then become Mirage Mirror again.
Well, the thing is, it becomes a copy of Orochi, and then it's targeting itself with the ability. It is now an Orochi, so it becomes Orochi again.
Oh shit, yeah, it would be out.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It sadly doesn't work. It almost works, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay, so on that note, the ancient patron of the Orochi, I would say that that is cool if it's your commander. I love to see these types of cards played. And I actually find it really interesting. Dofsa mentioned that they reprinted Offering apparently for the last time in the Brothers' War, and I did not know this. Or I just didn't see this, but there's a card with Artifact Offering. Artifact Offering. Right, so it's the same thing. This is so cool. I love the Offering ability. So it's essentially the same thing, except you need to sacrifice an offering. Right, you may cast a spell as though it had flash by sacrificing an artifact and paying the difference in mana. Okay. Flying double strike creatures, you can attacking your opponents have double strike. That is so cool. I wish we saw it more. I didn't know that, but there aren't that many cards with the Offering keyword. There's a few right there for you. But yes, it's Patron of the Nezumi. It's the one I like with Rat Offering. All right, Haste and Tamir Sabertooth could do work. Haste and Tamir Sabertooth could do work with Orochi.
That's for the Orochi, I believe. The problem is you need. Orochi does not naturally have haste, and then you need to. You can flash it in, but it's like so you.
Oh,
Yeah, so you can do
legend
haste
roll.
in Orochi. Yeah, haste Orochi does work, but it's very hard to do that because you need 10 mana plus to do that and make it work. So you'd need 10 mana out of your forests and green creatures, which is doable, just not good.
Well, Gaia's Cradle, and then you have the land that makes Gaia's
Guy's
Cradle a
Cradle is not a
forest.
forest. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Yavimaya.
It'll work, okay? Just
We'll make it work.
when you have to work like too hard to make a combo accessible or practical, that's when you know it's not worth it. But we have from William Gary in the live chat here, we have Notorious Throng.
For Chaomancer and Head Games Buyback. What is Notorious Throng? That is the one that I don't know.
Right. Do you want to read that off for the audience?
Sure. Notorious Throng is 3 and a blue for a tribal sorcery rogue spell with Prowl 5 and a blue. Create X11 Black Fairy Rogue tokens with flying, where X is the damage dealt to your opponents this turn. If this card was cast for its Prowl cost, take an extra turn. So that's that. So let's see. It's Notorious Throng, Orvar, Chaomancer, and Head Games with so just a buyback target spell. So the combo is you're basically using Orvar, Archaeomancer, and a buyback spell to take infinite turns while also making fairies, which yeah, it's a combo. Yeah. It's Orvar extra turns. You're just printing extra turns.
So Daspa wants us to discuss Dream Halls and Tiamat.
Let
So
me look
Dream
at
Halls is kind of a
Oh
cool
yeah.
one.
I remember this card. I don't even have to look it up. I know what it does.
So okay, go. What's it do?
So
What's it do? What's it do?
Dream Halls is 3 blue for an enchantment that says players may discard 2 cards of a color to cast a spell of that color instead of paying for its mana cost. Not the exact wording, but that's what it is. Discard 2 cards, cast a spell of that color for free.
It's actually a little bit better. Its controller may discard a card that shares a color with that spell.
Oh, just a card, not 2. Yeah.
Without.
That plus Tiamat, which Tiamat is the dragon that searches up all of the dragons. You get to search up to 5 dragons and put them into your hand, which is pretty good because that means that you can drop every single dragon in the frickin' game on board just because you discard 2 of them to play 2 of them for free because you're picking 5 Wooburg dragons, let's be honest.
Right. Right. So when Tiamat enters, it can search. That's pretty good. Isn't there another like mono red legendary that also searches up dragons?
Yes, I
All
think
the
it searches
dragons?
one of them up into play.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It's not really going to work well in
Yeah.
tandem with Dream Halls, but I guess any sort of mass. Is there a better card than Tiamat? No offense to Tiamat.
So it's interesting thing with Tiamat is there's the one dragon that's roll a d20, reanimate everything that's cost is less than the roll. So you could, in theory, get a haste enabler in that dragon and then reanimate all of the dragons you discarded. And if you have any kind of if you have any way of returning Tiamat back to your hand so that you can recast Tiamat using one of the dragons that you just got, you can keep going.
Mm.
So there's a lot of shenanigans that you can do with this. I don't like it too much, but there is definitely like potential to do some weird shenanigans storm because you just need a dragon that can get Tiamat back to your hand, not the command zone because you have to pay 2 for the command zone. But if you can keep getting Tiamat back to your hand, you can keep searching dragons and keep going. So there is some weird potential here. You can play a lot of dragons. Basically, you go from just Tiamat in your command zone to discarding a dragon, getting 5 dragons, then casting Tiamat again like 4 times and getting a bunch of dragons, then reanimating all of them using that one black dragon.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I like it. It's a good 1-2 punch with Dream Halls. Like,
yeah,
just by and by,
it's
that's really good.
it's not anything competitive, but you're gonna piss off your casual table with that 100%.
Well, yeah, I mean, is there a way? I mean, I would want to just get all the dragons from my deck. I don't know how many dragons
I
are we
don't
actually manipulating.
I don't think there's a way to get all of them, but you can do a lot with that.
You just need a dragon that flickers. Is
So
there not a dragon that flickers?
so if
Oh,
Tiamat is your commander and you let's say sacrifice Tiamat or something, you
oh.
still have to pay the commander tax. So you will eventually have to stop after paying too much mana.
Well,
So that's the only downside, even with Dream Halls.
they're suggesting Bladewing the Risen. I assume.
That's the dragon that reanimates a dragon.
Right when yes, the dragon that ran. Well, yeah. Well, when you may return target dragon permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield when it enters the battlefield. Right. So he says you get a dragon combo with Bladewing out, and Dream Halls cast Tiamat as commander. You do need to, as Will was saying, I think you still need to pay the tax when you're casting it, right? Even if it's an alternative casting cost, like pitching a card as opposed to casting it. So you'll need to pay the 2 generic. I like it a lot, but I get what you're saying. Like if you had a dragon, if you played a dragon that sacrificed Tiamat, right? A dragon that's like on ETB, destroy everything, and then you play Bladewing the Risen off of Dream Halls, right? Every creature, I should say, and then you bring back Tiamat from the grave. That's kind of cool. I would need to
Yep.
look at the dragons. I'm sure there's a gnarly dragon based combo here though. Like my mind is not oriented towards dragon combos.
I
But
know that there's some weird Blade Wing the Risen combo. But
well,
my one problem is Tiamat doesn't say when it enters the battlefield do this effect. It says when it enters the battlefield if you cast it, meaning that you have to
right,
return it to the command zone or your hand each time, and then recast it. And if you're returning the command zone, there's going to have to be the
hmm,
tax for it.
right,
So
right, right.
you can
Well,
still get a lot of dragons. It's not like an infinite, but it sets up for a lot and it makes a massive freaking board and it
right, right, right.
potentially sets up another dragon infinite. So it's a good setup.
It's another Rakdos dragon that combos with Bladewing, and it's killing me because return battlefield dragon, and I'm fairly certain it's Rakdos. I know what it looks like too. It's this one, Swift Warkite. Enters the battlefield, you may put a creature card with a converted mana cost 3 or less from the hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. It gains haste, returns to the battlefield. Wait. Oh, I
Isn't it
had a
isn't it just
separate.
a copy dragon?
No,
Because what you can do is you sacrifice Bladewing to state-based actions, returning Bladewing, then Bladewing gets sacrificed to state-based actions, returning Bladewing, and you get infinite ETBs and death triggers.
I think you're right. They're okay. Well, unless let me see
It's
here.
something weird like that. You just need a copy effect.
Right. Okay. Sure. That works. That is a thing. That works. I like it. It's weird. Like if you're on Tiamat, obviously, Dream Halls is probably going to be very effective for that because you're just fueling. I mean, you don't even need to discard. Like if we look at Dream Halls, you don't need to discard a dragon for a dragon. It's just a card that shares a color, right? So literally anything in your hand, if it's casting a 5-color dragon, is going to do the thing. So it's not bad value.
Moriat of the Frost coming in as a copy of Bladewing works. That's the Keldheim legendary snow guy that becomes a copy of something, except it becomes legendary and snow and enters with 2 counters. He's
And
the
it's
changeling.
and it's considered a dragon.
Yeah, so you can do that with like Blade Wing. There's probably something else that you can do as well, but that's just the one that I quickly found. So you can do that to infinitely chain ETBs and deaths with Blade Wing, allowing you to combo off and win the game.
There you go. Doable. 100% cEDH. Let's go.
Yeah.
We should all be playing. I'm gonna do like 2 more, and then I think we can call it. There's so many suggestions. I think that this could just be a segment, but I love discussing combos, play lines, and win cons with you all, talking about their viability, discussing things that are off meta, seeing if they're still viable. But we have one from Mito. There's so many. I'll do these 2 next, I think. No, oof. Sorry, I wanna cover some that maybe we haven't discussed. Let's do Robert Moreland's suggestion. The reality chip, because I've never heard of this card.
Really? It's the equipment that's a future sight
No,
from Kamigawa.
Nope.
Okay,
Oh,
got it. Okay,
you can read it. You can read it off. You can read it off.
Okay. So the reality chip, I don't even have it pulled up. I'm just going to try to do this off of memory to some
I know
extent.
that's the goal. I want to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm remembering this correctly, the reality chip is 1 in a blue for an 0/4, all of the text, a legendary creature artifact, and it's like it's a squid or something like that. Or
Equipment
octopus.
jellyfish.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just knew that it was some kind of sea creature. And
Okay.
it has a 0 attack and 4 toughness. It says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. And then it has reconfigure for 3, and it says while it's reconfigured or equipped to a creature, you may play the top card of your library.
So Robert is suggesting the reality chip, Sensei's Divining Top, and any mana reducer is a pretty fun way to draw your deck and storm out at the same time, especially as an artifact-centric deck. So the reality chip would be your jellyfish commander.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So if you guys don't know Sensei's Divining Top, it lets you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. So Sensei's Dividing Top, you could tap it to put draw a card and put it on top of your deck, and then you can play it. The cost reduction is important. It could be like Helm of Awakening, right? All spells cost 1 generic mana less to play, right? So you could do Helm of Awakening when Sensei's Divining Top and Reality Chip, and it works, or any other cost reducer. That's kind of cool.
This is a pretty like good and pretty common one. I think most people do what's its name? The 1 in a blue, your artifacts cost 1 less. That creature, that artifact creature.
The one that's in Joyra.
Yeah, it's really good just because you can cheat it out with all the artifact tutors in blue, and it's a creature that you can equip reality chip to. And then you just need to find Sensei's Top, and then you draw your deck.
So
it's a good combo. Nice solid combo.
I'm trying to pick one more that I haven't seen before, and then obviously we can take one more from the live audience here. But yeah, I've not seen that played. Someone's mentioning Displacer Kitten. I feel like Displacer Kitten's pretty popular, right?
Yeah, people try to make Displacer Kitten work everywhere that they can. Card's amazing.
Okay. Well, this is one I've actually covered on the channel before, so maybe not that. But someone's suggesting Ivan Korsikov, Rule of Law, which we all know. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. Rule of Law. Man,
I wonder which of the 5 lockout cards is going to be recommended here.
Possibility Storm.
Yeah, let's go. Rule of Law Possibility Storm.
So, yeah, that's just incredibly mean. 3 generic double red enchantment. Whenever a player casts a spell from their hand, that player exiles it, then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a card that shares a card type with it. That player may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then they put all cards exiled with Possibility Storm on the bottom of their library in a random order. If I'm not mistaken, they just don't get to cast anything?
Correct. It's just no. That's all it is to it. It's just no. Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Let me offer a different version that is even more infuriating, but also really cool.
Okay.
Swindler's Scheme. This is a blue enchantment, and this is a deck idea for anyone who wants to make their friends suffer in the coolest way possible.
In the best
So
art possible. Go
yeah,
on.
so Swindler's Scheme is searchable by Zur the Enchanter. Rule of Law is searchable by Zur the Enchanter. And there's another card that's searchable, but I'll go over what Swindler's Scheme does first. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from their hand, you may reveal the top card of your library. The top card of your library. If it shares a card type with that card, counter that spell, and that opponent may cast the revealed card without paying its mana cost. So the idea is you have Rule of Law and this, and you mix it together with another card called Soothsaying. One blue, you can pay X to look at the top X cards of your library and rearrange them in any order. And this is also searchable by Zur. So you just keep changing around the top card and counter everything your opponents do for the entirety of the game.
That's nice. But what I like about it is that it's only 2 generic and a blue.
Yeah.
Like,
And you
this
can
is just a good,
occasionally,
this is just an actually good card.
however, if it doesn't match with the card type of your opponent's card, then they just cast their card.
Right.
So, like,
So
that's the downside. But this is a funny dumb combo that I've recommended to a few of my friends here and there. So if you just do Zur the Enchanter, you can play Zur stacks and use this to lock out the game. Just pay
right.
mana, say nope.
If you also have your Sensei's Divining Top, you can any sort of top deck manipulation or like a scroll rack, you could just put it from your hand on top and you're like, yeah, okay, well,
Yeah.
I guess I had it. But it's like the same sort of shenanigans you'd run with a counterbalance. Practically.
Exactly.
Right. I like this. That's
The best part is this doesn't affect any of your spells at all, and you can keep building up your board however you'd like to lock out the game even further.
honestly, that's the best part of it. Yeah, because it is only relevant to opponents. I like it. And we have one last one from the live audience. We have Running Brave, Lelia, and Necropotence. So this would not be in the body of a Lelia deck. You would need to obviously be playing these both in the body of a Rakdos deck. But Lelia, the Blade Reforged, 2 generic and a red 2/2 body, legendary creature, Spirit Warrior. Haste, whenever Lelia, the Blade Reforged, attacks, exile the top card of your library, you may play that card this turn. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library and or graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on Lelia. So the suggestion is, if you
That's
don't know
pretty
how,
funny.
yeah, she's also hasty. So
Yeah. So you just discard the hand size, exile all those cards discarded from your graveyard, and then you put 20, 30 counters on Lelia.
it's not a bad way to nuke someone,
That's
right?
fun.
So pay 1 life. You are limited by your life here, right? So
Yes. But you could give Lelia lifelink. That's a very fun, like, kind of weird, casual, non-casual setup. You're
right,
using
it's
their
just
codes to, like, mill and exile to buffer up. That's funny.
it's such a weird combo just in tandem with that last ability. I like it. I like it a lot. Whenever you put a card, like, you can also just use this in the body of the 99 of Ob Nixilis.
Yeah. Like,
It's just another beater. Not that Ob Nixilis needed another
any more
beater.
help.
Right. He's probably good. He's like, Lelia, hold my beer. But she could still swing. She's also hasty, honestly. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. I mean, it's not bad because, like, you're literally putting things into exile to cast, right? With your Ob Nixilis too. So it's kind of dope. I like the suggestion. Thank you, Running Brave. Does Knowledge Pool Rule of Law do this too?
Yes. Knowledge Pool Rule of Law is also a lockout.
Yeah, and a painful one. Fun thing is Doomsday Insidious Dreams with Gitrog. Lelia works with Tainted Pack.
Yeah. Also true. Yeah, just throw Lelia in a Rakdos deck and have fun.
I know. Don't you wish Lelia was Rakdos now?
Yeah. I'd play that. I'd play that.
I would totally play that. I would totally play that. Right. So what do? You do like Lelia. You'd attach Final Fortune to a Isochron Scepter, and then you just pop off after. Right. Like you'd have that, and then you'd have the clock, the sundial.
Or you Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation for Chandra's Ignition, and then deal 40 damage to each opponent because Lelia has 40 power.
Yeah, exactly. That's the win. That's the win. But that's not until we get Rakdos Lelia. Unfortunately, she wasn't part of any of the legendary pairings from our recent Mom Aftermath set. She wasn't important enough to have paired with a Gitrog or something like that, but that'd have been so
I
cool.
I wish she had background. I wish she was a backgrounder. She was
Right.
literally in Baldur's Gate.
Oh, what the hell? Yeah.
I also want to say, and this is an idea I've had, and I wanted to get other people's opinions on it because I thought this was a
Sure.
cool idea. What do people think of the idea of companion cards that just give your commander another color, but have like a build around thing that you need to do? So, like for instance, you can make Lelia Rakdos by adding black. However, you can't run any creatures that cost like 3 or less CMC, something like that.
Oh, so just I get what you're saying. I pulled up Zerta because I've been wanting to make a deck with Zerta recently. Um,
But yeah, so it's like a companion style effect that says partner
right.
like your commander gains this color identity, but you have to build around the whole companion mechanic.
I like it. I think that would be fair, and that wouldn't require the other card saying partner or partners with, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like, or background. It's just a effectively a background companion. It does it have an effect, or is it just a color?
It could just be a color. It could have like some minor effect. It depends on what people think would be balanced. I'd also be fine with saying having them say like if you have a mono blue commander, you do this so that you can only do like a blue green with this build around or blue red with
Um,
this build around. So if people want to do it like that, they could. Or we could just say whatever happens happens.
I mean, I do like having the specificity of like it being a builder round, but that does narrow down what is essentially a narrow list to begin with, though. You know what I mean? It really depends. I feel like there's got to be some limitations there, because like if it's adding a color to a monocolored list, I wouldn't want the detriments or the build around to be too difficult. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, it's like you might be neutering what the
Yeah.
effectiveness. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, well, why don't you just play Timna Thrasios? And I'd be like, okay, I get it. I get it.
I also just don't want someone being like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna play a Godo with black, and the only thing that I can't do is I can't run counter spells, something dumb like
hmm
that."
The companion build arounds are dumb ideas. Luris was bad for deck variety. I feel like
Lur
Luris was pre-banned, wasn't it?
Luris wasn't pre-banned for anything actually. I think Luris they thought Luris wasn't gonna be a problem, then it became a problem in literally every format but Commander.
Oh, I'm
Um,
thinking of the Otter.
yeah,
I am
the Otter
thinking
was
of
pre-banned. The Otter was
Yeah, the
pre-banned.
Otter is like re- it's really good. That's funny. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the Prismatic Piper partner, but with any legendary instead. Yeah, Gene Phillip. I think that.
Effectively, but you have to have some kind of like downside to be able to mix it with another legendary. That kind of thing. Like so it would be like you have a green one that says you have to run like 40 creatures or something like that.
I would like. I think that's fair. I mean, yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. The number you threw out there was arbitrary, but
Yeah.
maybe less. Maybe 30. Maybe 30 instead. But that was fun. I like these like thought experiments. I like discussing combo cards. Feel free after this video to leave your favorite combos, play lines, and win cons that you feel are underutilized. And maybe we'll do another roundup and discuss them in a separate stream or video, because honestly, it's very fun to discuss these. It opens up, I feel at least, our opinions on what is possible and what is playable in cEDH. And we don't always need to be doing the same things. But also, if you play with a different play line or strategy or combo, sometimes that opens up stacks pieces that shut down, currently viable or just meta choices that other players are using, right? So it's good. It's good to diversify in strategy. So again, I had a lot of fun doing this. Let me know in the comments if you did. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps push these to more individuals. I have to say, like, it really helped with the tier video, just saying that. So if you don't commonly like these, but you enjoyed the conversation, feel free to give this a like. Will, any closing thoughts?
I hope that at least one person does the stupid swindler scheme Zerdek and makes their play group suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but you're going to get necropotence. You're like, nope, I'm not.
Rule of law. into
Yeah.
this card that you've never heard of before.
Right. So do you do like something to double the activation and just get
Uh,
both?
I mean, I think that you just do Xur stacks and then you just slowly roll into it, and then you just go, oh, into the swindler scheme, into soothsaying, into counterbalance. Have fun doing anything.
And then your Zur is just winning by just attacking every turn, I guess.
And just getting more enchantments out.
Yeah. And then I guess you grab that. All right, we'll
It's
build that
very
list
funny and
later.
very dumb.
But I'll see you guys Wednesday, likely to build Nissa. But until then, it's been fun. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Untapped, and we'll see you on the next one.